Hey gang, just in time for Christmas, go check out modedstudios.com. Their big seller this season is the Baby Yoda from the Mandalorian show on Disney Plus. I tried watching it. It fucking sucks. But if you like Baby Yoda, go get yourself a Baby Yoda patch, or you can get a Baby Yoda beanie. These things are selling like hotcakes. But you don't like Baby Yoda? Fuck you, Baby Yoda. We ain't talking to you no more. Go ahead and check out Snow White smoking out of an apple embroidered patch. That's right, Snow White smoking weed out of an apple. Or how about the SpongeBob I'm out of here meme on an embroidered patch? Hells yeah. Go get yourself some. Go to modedstudios.com. They're always updating their site with new and fresh ideas, and they do custom work all the time. Modedstudios.com. 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 Get some. Also, I've never really seen all The Mandalorian. I don't know if it sucks or not, so don't hate me. I like Star Wars. Love me. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the We Speak English Good podcast. Today's guest is Mr. Zak Hutner, and we're going to break down the new Watchmen series on HBO. Now, if you've been following along on the series, they just wrapped as of Sunday, this last Sunday, from when the time this podcast posts. I guess I could give you a date on the actual air date. Let's see, it was December 15th, 2019 on HBO. Watchmen's final episode aired, and we're basically just breaking down the final episode because we haven't been doing this episode by episode, and we just like to do this once in a while on the show here. So if you're not into the whole breakdown community, then I would just move on to a different episode. But if you are into nerding out on shows of pop culture, then this particular show I think that you want to listen to. Me and Zach have been actually talking about maybe doing a separate podcast that where we do just breakdowns of things that we like. If you think that's a good idea and you want to hear more of this on a separate podcast, write the show at wespeakengishgood@gmail.com. Let us know if you think that we should do a whole new show. So I have a couple new things I wanted to add, like I was saying, and then we'll get to the actual podcast with me and Zach. So here's a couple things that me and Zach missed in our conversation yesterday, and these are some things after watching the episode again today, and I decided to just go ahead and write this down. So the first one is untie knot, which is the initialization name of the cum wall, the cum vault of Adrian Veidt's semen samples that are behind Alexander the Great, and it said untie knot. In the podcast, me and Zach refer to that as maybe or maybe they're referencing, if Ozzy has found the perfect mate, that he's going to tie the knot with them by impregnating them. But what I've been sort of noticing is that Ozymandias has this boner for historical figures, especially historical figures of power, especially Alexander the Great, which he says in the comics that he's the only other human being that he actually respects and cares, and actually cares about. So untie the knot refers to the Gordian knot that Alexander the Great cut in half because it was a knot that no one could figure out how to undo until Alexander the Great just came in, was like, just cut the fucking thing in half. What's going on here? I got shit to conquer. I don't have time for all this shit. So next we got when beyond Lady True's mother, but when she was actually her mother, back in 1985, when Ozymandias is recording his message to future President Redford, Beyond goes and inseminates herself with Ozymandias's semen. That's why we started with Gordian knot. It all leads into the, her inseminating herself. But when she's preparing everything, she's starting to recite actual dialogue from the real Lady True, who Lady True was named after. I forgot what she actually did. She was like the Chinese version. Oh, no, the Vietnamese? Is it Vietnamese? I'm just going to go ahead and say blanket statement. Asian version of Joan of Arc. There you go. Sorry if I offended everybody. Oh, yeah. I love this in PeteyPedia. The last PeteyPedia entry, they talk about how Petey has been fired. So if you haven't been following the memorandums that Petey has been collecting, he has a whole... there's a whole page dedicated to PeteyPedia, and it has all these cool little Easter eggs in it of itself. But the last PeteyPedia entry has a secret, whatchamacallit? It has a secret link. If you hover over canola oil, because in the thing, it's not written by Petey, it's written by his, I guess, his boss, and saying how he was fired, and that Petey's going to stay in Tulsa, and that Agent Lori Blake is fine, and she's being debriefed, and they also found this, like, jugs of canola oil, which is referring to probably Lube Man, and it's basically a confirmation that Petey was indeed Lube Man, who made this like really weird appearance and then disappearance into the sewer. So if there is a season 2, then I'm sure I'm sure Lube Man will appear again, which is the grossest superhero thing that someone could think of. I don't know why he would want to be Lube Man, but I love that. So if you go to, I'll put the link in the show notes so you guys can go and check it out for yourself. I mean, I think that was just fantastic. The whole PeteyPedia accompanying the show. I just thought that was a great idea, and just help build out this universe even more. And this last secret link, which, by the way, the secret link takes you to, it says, have you seen this man? And it's Lube Man, and it's basically a confirmation. And if you notice, that's what the picture of the actual podcast, this podcast is this week, is a picture of Lube Man, and that comes from that link in PeteyPedia, which I'll leave in the show notes, and you can find out for yourself. Okay, Ozzy, when Lady True in 2008, when Lady True visits Ozymandias at Karnak, by the way, Karnak was named after, I believe it was the name of Ramses II's palace. I believe that's what he called Karnak. So that's sort of where he gets his name, the name of his Fortress of Solitude. So Ozzy calls, he basically refers to Ronald Reagan as, when he's talking about Robert Redford not returning his calls, he's like, it's absurd. And he says that Robert Redford told Ozymandias that he would have won the presidency without his help. And Ozymandias, of course, is this, fucking narcissist who was like, how dare he? And he's, imagine some cowboy actor becoming president. So that is an actual reference to Ronald Reagan, who was a cowboy actor who became the president of the United States. Some revere him, some hate him, but he did become president. And, that's not the first time a celebrity became president. Well, maybe that is the first time a celebrity became president, like an actor became president. I think that is right. And then, of course, we have our current president, which he shall not be named. Republic serial villain. I wanted to bring this up because I liked that he mentions this a few in different ways where he says, I'm not some Republic serial villain. He's saying that in the comic, and he also is saying it in when he's stuck on Europa, and I think he's talking to Mr. Phillips and in some form or another. So he's referring to Republic serial villain, and Republic was a movie studio back in the early days, which I don't know the exact dates, but they used to show movies like Dick Tracy and Captain Marvel back in the day. So there you go. When Dr. Manhattan is talking before he's dying in his lithium box, and he's talking to Angela, when he's quoting, "I don't see a reason for me to go into Afghanistan," or "if you're cold." He says a few different lines, and these are direct lines from different scenes in the actual comic book. And if you go back, there's a couple. I mean, you have to search. This is just okay. We're moving on. The end is nigh is when he's talking. When he's referring to when he's talking to the newsstand operator, when Ozymandias and Lady True is going to set up the square for the teleportation of the 7th Cavalry and Angela and Blake down to the square so she can become Dr. Manhattan. Ozymandias is talking to the newsstand guy, and he just starts sort of going into this little soliloquy, which I don't think is the right word for this, but I'm going with it because it sounds good. Fuck it. He quotes from we talk about this in the podcast, but he quotes from a pharaoh, but then he starts quoting. What's his name? Warshak's sign that he would carry around with him as Walter Kovacs. He was carrying around "The End Is Nigh," and because Walter Kovacs was this like crazy kind of transient who fucking fought crime. So, and then finally, before we head into the podcast, we got Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. Trent Reznor, of course, from 9 Inch Nails. He is 9 Inch Nails. And then Atticus Ross I don't remember what his role in music is, but these two have been teamed up since 2010. They've done tons of movies and different soundtracks together, including The Social Network, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Bird Box. And also, I love this little addition on PeteyPedia, how they're talking about how Petey was listening to 9 Inch Nails and that 9 Inch Nails is trash or something and it's ruining America's youth. So I thought that was a fun little... They threw that little Easter egg for everybody in the last PeteyPedia memo. Also, I wanted to just add in that David Landerlof, did do an interview with Rolling Stone saying that he is going to head back into HBO studios in January to start figuring out whether or not he wants to even pursue a second season of the Watchmen. He has said from the beginning that this is going to be a standalone series, just one story, and that's all he wanted. HBO hasn't really greenlit any second season, and that's mostly because David Landerlof, he's just sort of figuring it out for himself. So that's it, guys. I appreciate you guys sticking around for that. I just wanted to throw those in there just for fun. And now let's go fucking listen to me and Zach talk about the last episode of The Watchmen for 2 hours. And we got a ton of great fucking Easter eggs and all the stuff that we saw and all the little details. We did a lot of research going into this. Such short notice, so I'm sure we missed a bunch. But I had a great time chatting with my buddy, Zak Hutner. And this is Watchmen, the series breakdown. All right, guys, we are back. So we're doing another breakdown, and I think instead of us just giving the small talk at the beginning like we usually do, I think let's just fuck that. Let's get right into it, because I can't stand when I watch these breakdown videos and they're just sitting there talking about nonsense. Like, hey guys, how do you like this? I said, fuck. He's like, no, fucking, don't bore us. Get to the chorus. Get real. Yeah. Or get to the chorus.
This is when people stop being polite and start getting real.
Anyways, I'm sitting here with Zak Hutner, and we're missing Jason because Jason is obviously too good to watch a show, even though he has 3 kids to raise.
I don't know.
Adhering to a wife fan. And I don't think he's a Watchmen fan, and I do want to come off straight off the top. Like I never read the comic. I was in the comics, but I never read the comics. So there is references here that I'll be shooting from the comics.
It's like a graphic novel. It's like one book.
My bad.
It sat on like the back of like the shitter for years at our house growing up, and it was like, am I gonna read that or like X-Men Civil War? Those are like my two options when I took a shit growing up, right?
Okay, so I think it's funny that you corrected me that instead of a comic, it's a graphic novel.
But I think that came out after they
this set the precedence for graphic novels, right?
Yeah.
Because then like after this is like Frank Miller's Batman came out, and that was like a graphic novel, and then there's several other people, but yeah, you're right. This sort of, and also fucking Watchmen, the original comic book, was on the New York Times bestseller as a novel.
Was it really?
Yes, for a few weeks at least, I think.
I tried to use like one of those books. I don't remember which one it was, but it was one of those books we had. It was on the back of the toilet as like a report card, like a book report, as a book report growing up. And the teacher was like, "No, this is not a book. Totally not a book. There's like 4 pages. There's like 4 words." And I was like, "Wait, it's not a book." I was so mad. And like nowadays, I feel like you could get away with that.
Well, yeah, I think you're right.
I
Just
feel
with
like
the
everything's
of,
so much more changed. Like,
right.
oh, comic books are kind of
right.
cool.
You can have tattoos and get a job. You know, it's a little more accepting to have be a little bit more eccentric. But what the fuck what were we saying about it? Shit, it's already happening. My brain's already fizzling out. This is fucking not a good sign. Anyways, fuck it. We're moving on. Just off the top as well, I do want to say that as I was driving over to Zach's to record this, I was listening to the official podcast that they release on the HBO website, and it is, and creator David Lindelof, or how the fuck you say his name? He's the creator of Lost and creator of The Leftovers, 2 shows that I both watched, and I mean, how much I love them or like them is a different thing, but I watched them to the end because once I started...
Really? You got to the end of Lost?
I got to the end of Lost. I did. I suffered through that insufferable last season just to find out that they were fucking dead the whole time like everybody predicted at the beginning of the series. Do you remember that? Remember when at the beginning? I don't know. Did you ever watch Lost?
I watched it, like, when did that come out? In, like, 2003, right?
Yeah,
when it started coming out. Right?
Yeah.
I watched it in high school because everybody watched it in high school, right? And then I got over it quickly because it was one of those shows that just seemed to drag on and more shit.
And it was, 20-some episodes a season, all an hour long. And it was
a commitment.
It was. And that's the problem with those kind of shows, those network shows that have to fill like 30 episodes in a season of all 42 minutes, 44 minutes long. You're going to get filler episodes. And that's what I feel like the whole series became, was like this one big filler. And then The Leftovers. Did you ever watch The Leftovers?
No, I never watched The Leftovers.
That fucking show was a shit show. Like, all of a sudden, like, it's a crazy, awesome concept. The idea of like, all of a sudden, like, what was it? It was like 90% or something of the population, or no, it was like 20% of the population just disappeared.
People get like ascended or something. Like some people think that they went to heaven. No, some people just think they just like disappeared.
Exactly.
Like all that shit. Nobody knows. Yeah, that's some bullshit too. I didn't.
Right.
I remember watching a couple one of those and be like, yeah, this is not for me.
Well, I thought it was an interesting concept that they kind of just like shit out. Like I just thought it was awful. Like the last season of Leftovers is like, you know, like he's starting to, they're starting to figure out how to get to this place where the people went, and he's starting to like kill himself in weird ways, and because he can, and he's coming back, and then all of a sudden he's an international spy. Like there's a whole episode where the dude just turns into an international spy where he's murdering people, and it's out of his control. Which, I mean, it's left to interpretation. I just thought the whole thing was just fucking...
so far beyond from the point.
What the fuck is going on? And I know I said I was going to get right to the episode, but I'm building this up because David Lindelof, or I think that's how he says it.
Yeah, Lindelof.
Lindelof is a creator of these shows that... These shows that have sort of this open-ended meaning to it, and has a bigger... like I just feel like he gets these shows and they have these great meanings, and then he just drains them for whatever they're worth, and then it just sort of falls apart at the end. Not with Watchmen. I thought Watchmen was great, but I brought all this up to say Because on the way over here, I heard on the official podcast that this is only a standalone series. That's only supposed to be a standalone series, which Zach didn't even know.
No, that was heartbreaking.
So,
I was really, really, really upset when I learned that because this was a great season, not a series,
Right.
Not a series, just a season. But it's over and it's standalone, and we have to go back into a mystery and wonder what happens in the Watchmen universe. And I feel like really disappointed because you only get to see a glimpse of it. It was either 40 years ago or right now.
Yeah.
And there's so much that happened in the middle of it. And there's so much that I would like to see going forward. And I feel like there's so much that they can keep doing with it. I hope somebody at HBO, because we have so many HBO execs who listen to this, we'll pick that up and then we'll go and do something else with it because HBO's dying. They need something to watch.
Are they dying?
I mean, I don't know. What else are you watching on HBO? Silicon Valley this season was a bust.
Yeah.
I thought that
you didn't like how it ended?
No.
Okay.
Three thumbs down.
That's another podcast. No, it was okay for an ending of a series, I guess, but no. But anyways, no. It is a bummer because I feel like I got super invested in this show. And I remember when the movie came out, I really thought that was a great idea for a movie too. And like I said, I never went back to the comics, so the comic world is lost on me. But that's why we got you, Zach, because you had a lifetime of shitting and reading the comic growing up. So that's good. That we at least got someone who knows the source material. Yeah, a little bit.
That was a big thing. So my dad, as a pediatrician, realized he could charge comic book subscriptions to his peds office, and they'd just stay there for a year, and then we'd take them home. So I had like every single comic book after it had been sneezed on, and rummaged through by all the sick kids. But whatever.
Whatever you take.
We had them all. We had all the comics. It was great.
Wow. Did you guys ever save any of them, or did they all end up in the trash?
Yeah, I've got a big stack of them actually, probably right under. Yeah, actually, I can grab them right here.
You don't have to do that.
They're right behind you.
Well, no one asked you. Just know, Zach, that no one's asking you to do this right now.
They are right behind you.
I believe you, Zach. I'm not. I trust you. I trust that you have a stack of comic books right behind me. Okay, so I guess let's just get to the episode because we're only gonna really go over the last episode here. I know there's a lot of sources to find breakdowns for everyone, but we'll kind of go over the whole series as we go through the episode as well, because obviously there's a lot of payoffs and stuff. So if you haven't seen the episode or if you're not familiar, just skip this episode of the podcast. I know this is a music podcast, so I get it. You're here to discover a new artist you've never heard of, or maybe get to know one that you have heard of. You're not here to get breakdown episodes, but this is fun for me and Zach, so fuck you. Anyways, so episode opens. We're look, Zach. I wrote down Marquis Tessa.
Oh, Marquis Tessa.
Yeah.
There you go.
Because we noticed something. We both noticed something on the marquee. As
it means nothing.
There's nothing.
Maybe it means something.
It might mean something.
Maybe.
Okay, so we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So opens up. 1985, and it's before the squid is unleashed on New York City, and Adrian Veidt is recording the video that he sends off to Robert Redford, who is currently the president in Watchmen
He's
world.
The new elected president. Or no, yeah, he's the current president.
Well, at that time when he's making the video, this is because he doesn't become president until the 90s, but Adrian is sending him this video from 1985 before he unleashes it.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I know I'm right, Zach. I spent all fucking day on this. Which is very sad that my wife got to see how I really do these breakdown episodes. I just literally just sit there for hours and contemplate TV. Anyways, so Veidt is filming the Redford video that we get to see in I think what episode? It's like a couple episodes back where we see it when Looking Glass is watching it. Remember?
Yeah, the white supremacist senator,
Right.
whatever his name is,
Keene.
Senator Keene,
Yeah.
gets a copy of it from somebody else in the Cyclops. What a great name for white supremacists too, Cyclops. Like if
Yeah.
Nazis were just called Cyclops, I couldn't help but laugh all the time. Right?
It's like these are silly people.
Just they think they have a third eye or some bullshit. Look at that. But anyways, the Cyclops get a copy of it, and they're using that to really show people that there is kind of like a whole bunch of shadow war. And what a great thing I think to
parallel
our
universe,
our real universe.
Right.
Because there's some stuff going on that we're not privy to.
Of course.
I won't talk anything about Hillary Clinton because I'm afraid of her.
And Hillary stays up on We Speak English Good. Let me tell you, she needs to know all about those up and coming artists that I talk to. Anyways, what I like about this whole thing was that there is when he's talking and they're filming and they zoom back, they kind of reveal a few things in that. They show Adrian Veidt. It's Jeremy Irons as the actor who's playing Adrian Veidt, but they blur his face. So it's cool because it does a couple things. It keeps him ageless, and it gives it sort of this ominous feeling, that I'm reading into it, but that's too far into it. But it does give you kind of like this weird ominous feeling of when they're sort of filming it, and you don't really see his face, but you see his workers, and that's what I'm getting at. The workers there are Vietnamese, basically slaves. And who Veidt ends up poisoning at the end of that which you should know, I guess, because the comics, but he ends up poisoning those Vietnamese, basically slaves, their indentured servants, at the end, so there's no witnesses to what had happened. So then we get the awesome scene of fucking Lady True, because this is where we find out where Lady True comes from. And Beyond, her mom, goes and... However, I mean, I guess she's a computer lady. Like, she's a cleaning lady, but she's also
got skills, apparently,
but
she knows everything. Like, there has to be some backstory along with, like,
Right.
getting those passwords and everything. Like, Adrian Veidt got freaky with this particular woman, I believe. Let his guard down, and then.
It's true, because how did she know the password? Because did she try a couple times? I can't remember, or was it just the first time?
No, she just knew it. She's just like, oh, I know where the secret password is, and it wasn't even like if it was it was like seal the jar, tie the knot. That's how the program. If you read the program, it said tie the knot.
Oh,
and it wasn't her saying password username. It wasn't any bullshit like that. It's like a whole bunch of code
Right.
on like a 1980s computer, right? With it's just all green screen. I don't know if you guys have ever used one of those, but they're terrible. And you have to know exactly what you're doing. So you can't. There's not like let me click around here.
Right.
No, you can't do that, right? So she knew exactly what to do. Logged in all the keystrokes. And it was tie the knot, password, and then to close it, she had to retie the knot. That was the program on it.
Yeah.
It was untie and retie, I believe. That's what it was.
Because that was the command.
That was the command.
Untie
I don't know
knot.
if that means anything. I don't know.
Well,
anything
it makes
at all.
sense too, because if it was the command to untie the knot or tie the knot, then Adrian had found someone that he would want to be connected to through childhood and stuff. So that makes sense to me that was probably a command to raise. That's probably the command, and then you need the password
and then you
to
need the password to get
initialize it.
And what a weird fucking like thing to have. Like
Yeah, a vault full of fucking cum. That was the shit. I was just like, what the fuck is going on here? And what did she spray it? Remember, because she had that Jergens? She had like a bottle of lotion.
No, there's like a bottle of lotion right on his desk because he obviously is just jerking
he's just
off,
sitting there fucking
just waking him out, right? And then he's obviously doing that, and then she just squirts some of his Jergens in him.
Which is such a weird thing to do. Why
the
would
whole thing's weird. Why would you collect that many different specimens? Okay.
Well, I mean, I get it because in this episode we also find out that Adrian is asexual and he doesn't believe in having sex because it's a distraction, which I think we find out in like the next scene when Lady True comes to visit him at Karnak.
Yeah, that's an old. I mean, lots of people have said that beyond in time before.
That he was like gay or something, right?
Not gay. I mean, like he was obviously gay with with
No, that was the
that
other,
wasn't-
that was the other guy, Captain.
Oh, you're right. You're
what's his
right.
name? Captain Underpants. What the fuck was his name? The guy from the original.
That was the original four. I wasn't.
Because he was the one who initiated them to become a group, right? And then whoever that guy is, he was gay
I
for
don't know.
justice.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's fine, Zach. We're here. We're doing this. We're moving forward. Well, so I love that. I love that whole scene. I love that Beyond just knew how to.
What a violent way to inseminate yourself too. Like if,
Also, while saying "fuck you,"
I mean, is that really how you do it? I don't know if there's a gynecologist who subscribes to We Speak English. Write in. Tell us how it's done. I don't believe that scene to be accurate.
No, I don't think so either. I don't think you take a little gun and you like she looked like she was getting great joy out of it as well. I don't know how much joy you get out of cold sperm going up into your uterus.
It looked like a needle.
Yeah, it looked like some
I wouldn't want that.
rubbery
That wouldn't be
needle
the design. I would think that would be a good design for a tool like that.
I don't know. It looked uncomfortable, like the whole situation, but she seemed very comfortable doing it. And the best line is that she's saying "fuck you" to Ozymandias as he's stealing his seed from behind Alexander the Great, by the way.
And she must have known something was going up because she escaped the poisoning. She knew to leave right after that.
Well, I made a note saying like, "Oh my God, Lady True's mom was slain by her father," but that doesn't make sense because then if he poisoned her, how the fuck did she get out?
She just ran away.
She must have got out before, and she must have knew just to get out. So that's another thing is like, that's kind of a plot hole where it's like if he's poisoned. If he's poisoned them from the source material, if he's poisoned them, then wouldn't Beyond been one of those people who were poisoned, but maybe not. We also see in like some of those some of the bad dreams that Beyond the clone, the child, is having dreams of like explosions and having these terrible nightmares of memories of like explosions. So she was involved in some sort of way in the war.
Well, yeah, her mom would have grown up in the Vietnam War when Dr. Manhattan, was 60 feet tall and just walking through the jungle,
just exploding people's heads,
exploding people.
It's just like fucking. Oh my God, we haven't even got down that far. This is okay. Let's see. So the painting that was on the wall was Alexander the Great. That's just another fun fact.
He was one of those crazy dudes who. That was what I was getting at. He was one of those crazy dudes who withheld their seed.
Oh, Alexander the Great was.
Alexander the Great was one of those crazy dudes. I wish I knew more of them off the top of my head. I don't, but that's a common thing for crazy.
Well,
crazy. I think Napoleon did that too.
Probably, but like I remember, was it Mike Tyson who said he wouldn't have sex before a bout in the ring?
That's all boxers.
Is that all
female boxers is the exact opposite?
So I need to get dick down hard.
They needed as much testosterone as in them as possible.
He said, inject me in my vagina with your testosterone. I need to get in there and whoop some ass.
That's a fun fact.
Fun fact. Oh, the other fun fact was. Ramses II, which was the password to get into the cum vault, that is also the password that Night Owl 2 used in the comics to hack Ozymandias's computer there. So that might be how she found out about it. Maybe there was some larger conspiracy at hand.
Why would she know about that though?
Why would she know Ramses II? I don't know, but Ramses II. I had another fun fact about Ramses II is that Ramses II was an Egyptian conqueror and there was a connection. I'll just have to, I guess, fuck it. Who cares? We'll bring it back up if I ever see it again. I can't. I mean, there's just no, I just showed Zach my notebook of scribbles and he just started laughing because there's no way to decipher this. And even I am having a hard time doing it. So that was that scene. We get the fuck you Ozymandias as she's injecting his sperm into her to get pregnant with Lady True. So then it cuts to 2008. Lady True visits Karnak and she shows up at Ozymandias' door. It's 2008.
That's Antarctica. She shows up in Antarctica.
In Antarctica, but Karnak is the name of his.
Oh, is that the name of it?
Is of his fortress. Is Karnak.
Okay.
That's what he calls it. I think.
Yeah, I know he lives in Antarctica.
Yeah, he lives in Karnak in Antarctica, and it's just
she shows up. She's wearing these bomb Oakley ski goggles and all this like mountaineering gear. She's ready to go, and she just opens the door, and he's like, "Nah, get the fuck out of here. I don't need any fans." And she's like, "Wait, I know you killed 3.5 million people." And he's like, "What? How did you figure that out?" Pretty much. And then she spills the beans on him, and he gets super, super mad about it.
He does.
It's kind of a dick, like, father. Like, it's like the worst, like, thing you want to go when I imagine, like, if you were meeting your father for the first time.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that, she was that, like, willing to take him back and help him out.
Well, but it kind of turned into a spite thing too, because she wanted him to see her turn into a supernatural being, to transcend everything that Adrian Veidt has ever been or ever will become. She wanted him to be there.
Well, she said she wanted him to know if he had anything to say. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting that if he she wanted him to be like, "Oh, you were so right. I can't believe you were so wrong. I ever did doubt you, right? Why didn't I just give you the moment?" I think she wanted a moment like that to happen, or she was gonna kill him. And I think she was just pretty much waiting to turn blue and then just gonna kill a whole bunch of people because she told her daughter grandma to I like that. She told her daughter mom that when tell a detective to tell her friends to get out of here. Essentially, if the cops try and stop her,
right,
which just shows you the kind of crazy that she would have been as a god.
I just love that, like the mythology that she was building for herself. Like I fucking cloned my mom, so she'll be here. I brought my dad from Europa. Like that is like the story of
I didn't even think about it like that.
Well, that is crazy. The building blocks of something crazy. Like that's the building blocks for fucking the Lutheran. Not the Lutherans, but the what are the ones who think you get your own planets and shit? Like I don't know,
Scientology.
No, but works. Mormons think that there's
Mormons think that Israel's America. That's what they think.
I know.
Mormons are my favorite.
Yeah, they also used to think the Native Americans were blemished because they were evil. They were bad.
Those were the wrong Americans.
They were the wrong Americans who were I think they were called. Anyways. So those are the building blocks of religion. There are religions here that not Scientology, but like that have to do with Jesus. I can't remember. Is it the Nazareth? I don't think it's the Latter-day Saints is Mormons, but there's a religion where literally you get your own planet when you die, and it's just like
that sounds lonely.
Yeah, well, but that was the whole thing with fucking Ozymandias being on his lonely. He is the god of this planet. He's the master of this planet, but it was boring. And I love that line he says to Mr. Phillips or the game warden when he's dying. He's just like, "Was I worthy, adversary master?" He's like, "No." But you put on a good show. And that's his dying. Like that's the last thing that clone hears before he dies, because then it just stares off into oblivion, and that shit's hilarious. But I do want to back up because we're kind of we're jumping ahead, and there was a lot of reveals that sort of that went down in that 2008 meeting between True and Ozymandias. So one of the first things is that we find out that, or was that in this episode? Did we find out that the squids are automated in that scene?
Yeah, we find
because that explains why he's on Europa.
Yeah,
why
you find that out earlier, but I mean.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Okay, that was in a different time, right?
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. So that's not that grave of a
You find it out first when he tells all the white supremacists.
Stupid. Okay, that's not. But there was another reveal which I can't fucking think of, which is bullshit.
She admits to him that she knows about that, right. And
she knows about the squid.
Yeah, and then this is what happens. I mean, he tells her that he's not going to give her any money because
she's asking for $42 billion to build a, what was it called? I wrote it down. Keep going.
She wants to build that Millennium Clock or whatever it is. I forget what it's a colloidal whatever. Yeah, centrifuge.
It's but basically it's
atomic centrifuge.
Yeah, it's some shit like that. It's a quantum centrifuge.
Fuck, I love it when people use words quantum. Fuck. If you watch the Ant-Man, all they say is the quantum realm, quantum this, quantum that. Dude, you can write any Marvel movie, just use quantum 4 or 5 times.
Right, because you could make any explanation could come out of quantum. It's like, where did he come from? From the quantum realm? Like, what does he do? He creates quantum physics.
No one's gonna doubt you on that. So, anyways, like she goes and she goes off and she makes her whole company and everything. And meanwhile, he got sent to Europa,
right? Well,
because he was just bored,
right? And he was. What's weird about that whole scene is it's 2008. So obviously Ozymandias has seen that the world did not become this great utopia. He has sort of failed at that. And then this lady comes and says, "You're my daughter." And he basically said, you stole your intellect. Nothing is earned. And he even goes into saying like how he gave away all his parents' fortune to prove to himself and to other people that he can come from nothing. And he's like, that's the gift I give to you, which is that's why I was almost saying it's kind of spiteful that she wanted him to be there when she transcends everything.
For sure.
Because that's a fucking hard thing to take, is someone telling you is like, I reject you as a daughter. I don't want to see you. I'm not going to help you with anything. And the best thing I can tell you is nothing. So go fuck.
He calls her specimen 2337.
Yes.
He doesn't even call her. He says, "I'll never call you my daughter. So goodbye, specimen 2237," or whatever it is.
Right. Which, and there's also revealed that she's like, she reveals her plan. She wants to become Dr. Manhattan, and she wants to kill him because she doesn't think they did enough. And she was even saying that Ozymandias is still, you're playing the same tune. You're still doing the same thing over and over. It's time for something else. And so she reveals this big plan, and Ozymandias just shits all over. It's just like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, he doesn't. He wants nothing to do with it.
And he even says, "I'll never call you my daughter." And so that's what's so great about.
But then we get back fast forward to him killing his nemesis. His nemesis dying with the mask.
That's the game ward. Well, yeah, that's
the game ward.
Well, that's when it sort of cuts to "Save Me, Daughter." And we saw in other episodes of the earlier episodes where it shows "Save Me, D." And there was a lot of speculation. that Lady True was Ozymandias' daughter. That was a lot of from the fandom. And then there was a lot of
Mike called that. Mike got that out of the park.
But then there was also but people were saying maybe it says "Save Me, Daughter" or "Save Me, Dr. Manhattan." So people didn't know what the D stood for. So they left that kind of open for people to interpret, and that was a fun little thing they did.
And it's kind of interesting that Dr. Manhattan sent him there in the first place,
right?
Because I honestly, that's the one thing why I don't think it's a good idea. Why I didn't think it was a good idea to kill Dr. Manhattan. Dr. Manhattan and Alexander Veidt have this great dichotomy going on, whereas like they both want to be Superman. That's why the Watchmen's so much better than any DC comic you'll see. There's both these people with amazing fucking gifts, and they both can slight each other, but they're both imperfect at the same time.
Right.
Like Dr. Manhattan gives no fucks about human beings because he can do things like walk on the sun, turn oxygen into like gold, crazy things like that. Alexander Veidt doesn't give a shit about people because he literally looks at people as like babies. They need to be babysit. They're stupid. They need to be taken care of because they do so many fucking things wrong. So they're both like at this, great superpowers, unstoppable in their own right. But they're both awful human beings, or not human beings, just awful people, right?
Right. They're not. Yeah.
And that's what that's what really you love about it. I mean, that's like classic example of this is Peter Parker. I mean, Peter Parker, Spider-Man.
Yeah.
He can do anything he wants, right? So he goes to the wrestling ring while Uncle Ben dies, and while he's fucking around doing something else, and then he spends an entire life trying to make up for that one thing he can't do. He'll never be able to save his uncle, right? Even though that was the one thing. Like, if you have those superpowers, you better be able to save your family.
Right.
And even Dr. Manhattan knew he was about to go, and he's like,
he still saved his people.
He still saved all of his people, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so like you got to have some sort of struggle. You got to have some sort of like turmoil, like struggle, good versus bad in the superhero alone to make it a good series. And that's why Watchmen was always a good series.
Yeah, I like that. It's like, because like there are blurred lines lines of like if these people are good or bad.
So,
like, you know,
yeah.
I
So it
mean-
just gets back to my point. Like, I think that Dr. Manhattan sent him there because Dr. Manhattan was just as worried what Adrian Veidt might do. That if he's left him on Earth than if he just stayed there, right? So I think it was kind of like babysitting him. Here, I got this place for you.
and kind of doing him a favor too, right? Because didn't he ask him to be?
He
something?
did ask him to go there,
because
but
he was just so
so bored.
and he wanted to go and
Make his utopia.
yeah, and which ended up biting him in the ass
Because he's learned that you can't have utopias, and that's an important lesson for him to learn. Because for a guy who's so much about control. He wanted to control and make sure that everybody didn't blow each other up. But I personally don't believe that to be, I think that people always are going to hate each other.
Yeah.
And that if you don't like recognize that and prepare for those kind of extreme acts of violence against you, you're kind of just asking for it.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. It's like when you raise a kid fucking in a padded room, like for his whole life. Anytime he trips, anytime he falls, he lands on something soft, and then all of a sudden, when you take him out of the room and he's an adult, all of a sudden, he trips and falls, and he fucking hurts, and it's bad, and he might not recover from that because he never fucking built up any resistance.
For sure. And I mean, like Dr. Manhattan's a prime example of the padded room kid. I mean, he's already done so much that he now doesn't want to do anything. Which
is so funny, and it's funny that. Because this was even brought up in that podcast I was listening to from Watchmen, I was just noticing how much once Dr. Manhattan's in the show, which is only 2 episodes, you really see this human side of him out. Because like when he's talking to Angela when she tells him to go or something, and you see visibly his hurt, even though he knew that was coming, he's not experiencing those emotions until it happens. And so like what they were saying in the podcast, which I sort of noticed, is and they show the flaws, which you were talking about, the flaws of his humanity in this super being. But they were pointing out how like unimaginative he is, and how like dull of a person he actually is. Like Cal is just sort of this dull, kind of lackluster guy. Even
yeah.
like
what
even
was
when
Cal's job? I mean, what was it? Just
who knows what he
like,
was doing? And
being like a smoking hot dude. He just stays home with the kids.
He fucks his
And
wife
he's like,
proper.
What's up, dude? I'm like 6'8". What do I gotta do? All right, fuck you, dude.
My dick is the size of the Empire State Building.
Yeah, I gotta say the Excalibur dildo was a little small. I gotta say that, right? That was not to scale. Was not to scale. They
right.
Done
When
that.
they showed his dick a few times, and my goodness, that was.
They did it very cinematically at the end, where he's like going down to the blood, and there's like scale past his dick, and I'm like holding a water.
It's a blue dick.
I'm holding like a water bottle right now. That's like really what it was. It was
right.
Like
it was just a water bottle hanging
scale about
flaccid.
His flaccid dick, and it was just about the size of this full water bottle.
16.9 fluid ounce water bottle to
Flaccid.
add to flaccid, soft. So yeah, lots of dicks. Which Jason pointed out on the last podcast, like HBO's got dicks, which they do. Plenty of dicks.
Also, the white supremacist dude, he kept his underwear on.
Oh, the Dr. Manhattan government issued underwear. That was government issued underwear. And he went out and got himself some. And Lori makes fun of him.
Oh, Lori does make fun of him. Senator Keene, they make fun of him so hard.
Which like he throughout the series you see him, as this like presentable guy who's like blah blah blah. But towards the end you really see like the redneck come out in him, and like that whole scene when he's giving that speech where people are like people are in it was like almost like they got down the hate racist yell. I thought, and even you heard the yeehaw, like you even hear that.
You did right at the end when he's like, and we're gonna take his blue powers and give them to white people. And
Yeah,
they're like,
yeah,
that was great.
But like even the guy who couldn't wait, there was this one guy who's like he couldn't wait until that dude finished his sentence to release this hateful And like, I love the attention to detail where
he was method acting.
Oh my god, it was great. It was great. I was just like, that was so perfect because that is like how those people are. They'll they can't wait to express how much they hate.
Yep.
They can't wait for that hatred to get out of them because they're so angry inside that they just unwittingly are they gotta just yell it.
And then Angela shows up. All right, Angela shows up with a gun, right? And everybody's got guns.
Well, wait, hold on, wait.
I'm sorry.
We skipped the whole
What did
fucking.
we skip?
We skipped the whole Europa. Adrian's escape.
Oh, he escaped. She.
Oh, she escapes. Okay, that's good. Well, no, he kills the game warden, and we talked about where it was that scene where a game warden is just like, because he's looking up at him like, this is your master. This is like the person you respect, and this is the person who, by the way, planned the whole trial. He scripted all of this. All of this is scripted. Even like Miss Crickshaw or whatever the fuck her name is winking at him during the trial. We all know this is garbage. Like this is all stupid. And he even cries at the end, which is weird. And that's in the last episode, I think, where he's crying at the end, where he's just like, when he's realizing that like, it's all for nothing, and like there's so much to unpack in that. Like, how do you even explain what that character is going through at that moment, especially when you consider him as kind of a sociopath who doesn't really have emotions, but maybe there's something in there.
I think he was doubting that he was going to ever escape, and this was going to be his ultimate fate, is living amongst like people that he so clearly called beneath him, right?
Right.
I mean, they were so beneath him that he just catapulted him in space. Did he catapult him alive, or did he put him dead?
They were alive. Remember? Remember? Because that one Mr. Phillips was just looking around, like kind of stupidly, like
he just like hop up there.
Yeah, he's like in the catapult, like, oh, this is weird. I'm just sitting here, and there's like, bye, and he just like gets flown out. He just get tossed into fucking death. Which was great. Which is like he just murders so many people. And,
so many.
And he doesn't even care.
So many of the
doesn't give a
the
fuck.
plays in the beginning of the season.
Oh yeah,
all the plays that he did, the ways he was just testing out a spacesuit. That's all he was doing.
But it had to be a play.
There were so shows how he would just kill the guy every time.
It was nuts. The show just has such a
so she sends she obviously saw the satellite that she sent 8 years ago, finally got there. She sees the save me D, which is save me daughter now,
and she sends it up.
She sends this pod,
which we see in
and she has him do something very odd, which is put your hands on your hips and then sprays you with gold.
Wait, we're still skipping.
What am I skipping?
Well, when Adrian's hold on. We already talked about Adrian dying, but Adrian catches a bullet from the game warden before he kills. Adrian stabs him with his shaved down horseshoe, which he got from one of the Phillips or Crookshanks in his cake that he gets every year.
But I thought just Adrian Veidt was just smart. Does he have superpowers too?
No, he was just in there. But every episode was kind of a year. So like there was a year between each of those. Every time we'd go see him, so they would put a new candle on the cake.
How did he catch the bullet? Was he just
Well, he did it in the comic too. Well, he's just that skilled and he's that smart, and that he can catch bullets because he also did it to Laurie Blake.
Oh yeah.
In the comics, he does that same thing, and he does it in the movie. Actually, he catches a bullet. So that's one of his skills that he just has. That he just catches fucking bullets.
That's dope. That's a dope, useful skill.
That's useful for just a regular smart guy to have. It's like I can just catch bullets too. By the way, it's like I'm really smart and I can catch bullets. That was one thing I wanted to just point out. Hold on. There's one more thing. Okay, so Adrian, he makes his escape, kills fucking the game warden, gets on the little spaceship, and then she sprays him with, which is basically
but you see the pose that she had him sprayed in.
Right.
She that was all orchestrated. That was going to be a fucking trophy.
Right. It was because
we saw it earlier in the atrium.
We reveal because with that reveal, that also revealed that Adrian this whole season has been on Earth. He's just been on this like little nod to carbonite, like whatever they did in Star Wars to Han Solo, whatever they called that. It was like
carbonite, which is not what carbonite is in real life.
Right, but that was their little nod to Star Wars, where they just sort of had him in that position, and she keeps him in his little garden until she's ready to thaw him out to show him how cool she is, which is fun. So that was a cool little reveal that they had there. It was
a dirty trick.
Well, and then when you look at when she went to the Clarks, which is so funny. I love how they put this like weird bizarro spin on like even with the DC universe with Batman and with Superman. They put this weird spin and they have this spin where it's this like backward situation where she's going to this couple, the Clarks, who can't have a baby. Clark Kent, the Clark's farm, and then there's this space shuttle that comes flying in after she swindles them out of their property, which, I mean, she gave them a baby. That's their baby. That's a good fair trade, Like, if that's what you want in life the most, fuck this farm. I want that, So that's...
Didn't she up the ante, though? She's like, in 5 minutes, the baby will be incinerated or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
She's like,
I guess I'll have to destroy this.
She had like destroy or incinerate or like something that you don't like associate babies with.
Just going to throw this fucking thing in the incinerator. I'll let the fire sort this shit out because I'm not going to raise those fucking things.
There was another part where they did that in this series. Our season. Remember with Looking Glass's girlfriend's a vet?
Yes.
And she works at the place that clones dogs. Be
And
honest, does this dog look like this dog? And
like,
Looking Glass just says, this dog's a little bit bigger. And then she just throws it in the incinerator.
Callously throws him in the fucking thing.
Oh, man, I really hope that cloning does not become a thing and people do not start doing that because it'll be...
What will happen to their soul? What happened to that clone's incinerated soul?
That's a good one. No, only things that come out of a vagina have a soul.
I get it. You're right.
The soul is imbued to you through the vagina.
Yeah. Well, the female is the.
Oh, it has to be a penis and a vagina. It can't be two vaginas. Don't try and get tricky with me.
Okay. You're right. It's fucking.
I'm just kidding. That's not how I feel.
The women's body is a portal to the other universe, to the other plane of existence, not universe. I guess it could be
for some people.
For some people, it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a weird concept of things that out of just these little chemicals, something can sprout. I mean, it's just weird. I just don't want
to live in a world where we're like cloning dogs and then saying this one's not good enough.
It's just not cute.
There's so many stray dogs. We don't need to get that, but God. Go adopt this year, guys. That's what this whole podcast is about.
Go adopt. Find a stray.
Pick them up off the ground.
Get them off the ground. It's all good. So then, we went through this one, the whole thing, really quick. That's good. So Lori's. So then we're at. He gets back into town. They don't cut to that yet where they thaw him out, right? First
they cut to Angela storming in with her guns.
That's right. She's going to the hideout or whatever.
And Looking Glass has already popped up. He's in like one of the
Rorschach matches, and he's posing as 7th Cavalry.
And which I just also want to get in the record. Rorschach was not racist.
Right.
What is that up with?
I don't know. That's a good question. Why did they choose the Rorschach mask as the representation of the 7th Cavalry? Which they kind of went over because they were saying, they had to wear masks. Senator Keene was talking in his fucking racist speech.
Yeah, he's like, we had to trick all the black people. So we made them put on these masks.
Right.
And then we got them all riled up. And then they didn't know which way to go and get them. And then we took their blue man, and now I'm going to be their blue man. That was basically his speech, verbatim.
Right. Word for word right there. You got it here first, folks. But he was saying things like, we paid them, and then we, talking about reparations because in this world, reparations were a thing. What was some of the other things? Some of the other fun things that he was saying. I don't remember. Anyways, it was a great, like I was saying, it was a great way that they actually showed this character arc, sort of like finally this is what he's been working for, playing the long game.
But everybody's got guns. Everybody's got guns. And Angela pops in with one, like, I think she's got an assault rifle that she killed the one dude and took his assault rifle. And she just, like, instead of, like, just, like, being, like, behind a corner and firing, popping a couple, she just, like, walks straight up and is like, hey, all you white supremacist dudes, not allowed to do. Everyone get your hands on the fucking ground right now.
Well, she thought she was going to persuade him to give it up because she knew what Lady True was doing.
She thought that they would be smart, though, but I think that would have been pretty obvious just by like their company that they're not very smart, right? Like that should be a dead giveaway. They're not going to listen to reason here,
right, yeah, because they're already an irrational group.
But Lady True had already gotten the beat on them. She had been using them for.
But so it was them who did. So in this speech, we also find out how they sort of figured out that Cal was Dr. Manhattan, because when the White Night, which is when the 7th Cavalry went and murdered a bunch of cops, and in the night murdered them and their families. When Angela's house was attacked, she was about to get shot in the face, and then all of a sudden, when they show it on the show, she just wakes up and she's where the fuck was she? Was she just at home?
He teleported that dude who was going to shoot her, and he teleported her.
Oh, to somewhere else, right?
I think just into like another room inside that house.
Well, so he teleports the guy who's going to shoot Angela to Gila Flats, which is where Dr. Manhattan did the experiment that turned him into Dr. Manhattan. It's where John Osterman becomes Dr. Manhattan in Gila Flats, and someone puts it together. And it was like, oh shit, okay, cool. Then we know that he must be in Tulsa, and he lives in this household, and it's probably this guy. So Judd, the police chief, who is also undercover 7th Cavalry, they decide that he's going to go in and befriend them, get close to them, so they can eventually get to this point. Another fun thing is that Senator Keene's dad, whatever. Keene Sr., Joe Keene Sr. or whatever, he in the comics is one of the guys who who outlaws masked vigilantes.
So, he's one of the guys who puts on the
guy in the wheelchair.
No mask movement or whatever it is. Yeah.
So the guy in the wheelchair, who is his dad, is.
That's the guy in the wheelchair.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So he's
I liked when they when Lady True zaps him. The only thing that's left
amazing.
is the wheelchair left. Oh, that was so good. That was so good.
The wheelchair was there, but
it moved forward. It was like rocking. That was so.
No,
good.
it was good. It was great because immediately after that, Joe Keene. I think that's his name, Joe. He's in his fucking underwear or whatever, and he goes into he thinks that. And by the way, the payoff for the lithium batteries, which we see in like episode 2 or something, there was this big bag of lithium batteries from old watches, which in their world, that's an archaic form of technology.
Because everything runs on nuclear. I did like how they did that with all the electric cars and they making the electric noises. I don't like that they had like this fake electric noise. Just make the car silent and like imply it. But whatever. I understand. Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe people will like think electric cars aren't that stupid. If you put them in more TV shows.
Yeah, put them in TV shows, give them sound effects. Well, like I remember Prius at one point, there was a company that was trying to make like an audible like revving engine so people could hear it coming for safety, which is so weird. That just popped.
I don't know.
I've
heard about like that, like loud pipes save lives on motorcycles. As long as I've been riding, I know lots of people have been hit on motorcycles with really loud pipes. I mean,
doesn't
like,
even matter. If you're walking in the traffic.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, the exhaust is going the opposite direction from you.
So the sound's being launched.
You're a musician. You understand.
I get sound. I get how sound travels. So what is that? Yeah, so I mean the whole
So Angela shows up though and it tries to convince him.
that Lady True is playing him.
Yeah.
And she is and she sort of figured out that they figured out where Dr. Manhattan is, and then because remember when she was saying to Adrian in 2008 it was like in 5 years, 72 days, and 32 seconds. That's how Adrian knew on Europa that this was about to happen.
Yep.
So that's why he had everything set up before that probe got there, and it ended up working. But at that time, she didn't know that where Dr. Manhattan. She thought Dr. Manhattan was, I think, not on Mars, but on Europa. She knew that Dr. Manhattan was on Europa doing whatever.
Yeah, she already knew he was trying to make a
But she didn't know
utopia.
that he was here. You know, she didn't know until, I think, the Seventh Cavalry found out. And that's when she decided, well, I'm just going to bring my machine to Dr. Manhattan. And, you know, that'll be the easiest way.
Well, she said that in the end, if she had tried to gone after him, Dr. Manhattan would have stopped her.
That's why I brought up the lithium batteries.
Yeah.
Because those lithium batteries, for whatever reason, lithium can hold Dr. Manhattan. And that was the reason why he couldn't see that part in the timeline. It was because he was being captive in this lithium box that blocks his abilities. And
I'm sure my dad would have some chemistry knowledge on
be
why
like, that's bullshit.
this represents something that else. Like, yeah,
I know, like, you know, like I wish I would have fucking asked you, because I wrote the message out and I was like, no, I don't want to bother Jim.
It would have been fun next time.
Yeah, next time we know if Jim's into a show that we're at, dude, Jim needs to be here, because Jim just brings a whole fucking different dynamic.
It's fun watching stuff like that with him, like Breaking Bad. He's like, this is how I made meth in the 60s. I'm like, oh, really? Tell me more about that. He's like, well, it was for a science experiment at Carnegie Hall. I was like, oh, I'm sure you made a lot of meth. He did.
I believe him.
Carnegie Mellon in the physics department.
Just like, you know, we need to learn how to make some pure shit.
Just being bored and being like, I wonder if we could do this. I bet we can. We're a bunch of really smart, nerdy guys.
Anyways, so Joe Keane thinks he's going to go do this thing. He's stealing the technology from Lady True. The 7 Calorie is stealing these battery packs only because Lady True's been letting him. They kick on the machine. He's in the little booth. He thinks he's turned into Dr. Manhattan. They kick on the machine.
But it wasn't the machine they thought.
It wasn't the machine. What was it?
It was a teleporter.
Oh, pew, 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 pew. They get teleported to the town square in Tulsa, where originally, isn't that where
that's where the memorial center
was?
is. Yeah, for the Tulsa Oklahoma, which is the largest attack on U.S. soil that they don't talk about ever. And
which is a true story.
It's an absolutely true story.
Which is actually true. And I think
the police department had aircrafts that were bombing people and just...
I didn't know they were aircraft.
Yeah, they had
Jesus
planes.
Christ,
they had planes
that
were shot. And this isn't like 1930s. They're throwing bombs.
So they're
out
just
of planes.
throwing bombs off the top, just like
like somebody has like a plane. They're just doing this because they're
some
just
like crop duster
exactly
just throwing bombs.
No, dude, it was really bad. It was really crazy.
Yeah, I knew that was a real thing.
It's still not nationally recognized by a lot of. There's no federal monument.
Didn't know about it.
There's no federal monument to it. There should be something in Washington.
That's fucking crazy, dude.
Isn't that fucked up?
Well, it's we're in America and we have a weird history, and we have to like my son came home the other day and my wife was talking about how the pilgrims and the people who came here because it was Thanksgiving recently, and he was telling us how the pilgrims were working with the Indians.
I don't like that narrative. I don't like that narrative.
Which
it's fine at Bishop's age,
but not to us.
I understand.
So we immediately was like, no, because my wife was like, oh yeah, they were giving them diseases, they were killing them, they were doing. She's like, what? My teacher said that they were working together and they had a big feast, which I think at one point there was something like that, but things like degenerated quickly.
The real story was more like a bunch of white people were starving to death and some Indians took, some Native Americans, because Indians live in India, some Native Americans took pity on these people and were just like, actually, we shouldn't let them starve because we're good people.
Because they're people too.
And then they gave them smallpox blankets after that and took their fucking land. Did you hear what there's a great all these Native Americans wanted Rikers Island?
Oh.
because nobody's on it anymore.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Right? Or not Rikers, 'cause that's in New York. What's the one in Alcatraz? Alcatraz.
Oh, they
And
want
they want Alcatraz because there's nobody on it. So, and there's like some provision that allows like people to like take it over if or in Native Americans to take unoccupied federal government land, right?
Whoa.
So they're trying to take it, and their offer was like $23 and some beads. I thought that was fucking awesome.
That was a real thing.
That was a real thing. They're like,
Wow.
we'll pay you $23 and some beads, you motherfuckers.
This is our official offer. Let it be noted in the history books that this is what was offered.
Suck a dick, federal government. I love that.
I do too. Another thing that I loved about the show was that there was this little.
Wait, we did.
No.
Okay.
We're here. We're still here because in the squares where they have those phone booths to talk to Dr. Manhattan.
Oh.
Well, those are trues, and supposedly, or at least maybe this is something I'm assuming, or maybe I saw this, but that's how she initially started her fortune, was having these booths that sent messages to Dr. Manhattan, which we find out that none of them do. They're just going to Lady True, but when she shows up in 2008 to Ozymandias's Fortress of Solitude, he was like, "What do you think? I have a direct line to Dr. Manhattan?" So speculation says that Ozymandias implanted the idea of those booths, and that was, how she got her money. But those booths are in the town square where they were just transported after Joaquin thinks he's about to turn into Dr. Manhattan, and everybody's all fucked up from the
the teleport.
teleportation. So everybody's all fucked up. Their brain is all swimming around.
The one dude just takes off his Rorschach mask and just like throws up.
That was Looking Glass.
Oh, that was Looking Glass.
Yeah, Looking Glass, because he's real sensitive to it. Remember, he does it again too when he's transported to Europa.
He's a real sensitive boy.
He's a sensitive boy. He wears that fucking Mylar or whatever around his head all the time. So they. Oh, what the fuck? So what happens? What happens?
They teleport in, and the first thing I notice is that Lady True has her guys set up with these giant magnets.
Yes.
They suck all the guns from everybody.
Exactly.
What a great weapon that is.
Right.
That if that was real, that would be like, yeah, that's what you need. Those are perfect, right?
Right.
Take those into crowds from now on, please. Get those places. I'd love those, man.
You know what we just graced over without even saying anything? We just said, oh, they were lasered to death. Lady True has that speech.
Lady True has the speech, and that one bitch is like, I'm racist as fuck. I don't want to listen to you talk. All right. I get it.
We're gonna die.
I'm going to die.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit. And then
Right.
she closes her eyes and like is about to cry herself because she's like, oh, well, I thought if I yelled real bad, she would just let us leave. That's like the epitome of like, I want to speak to your manager. And then the manager comes out and is like, fuck you, get out of my restaurant.
Well, it was great because, we find out that William Rees had traded Dr. Manhattan for that moment. But then there's even a more bigger twist at the end, which we'll get to,
Because he didn't like him. He honestly.
Wasn't that he had an issue with him, right?
Well, he said it right in the end. For a man who can do anything, he didn't do enough, and
Right.
that's, I gotta say to the hoodman, the hooded mask. What's his name again?
Hooded Justice.
Hooded Justice. I gotta say to Hooded Justice, that's spot on. If you have that
Absolutely.
much power, like great power, great responsibility, right there. But like, I think that again, he went to Vietnam. He did something he shouldn't have for Nixon, and he felt remorse and then decided to never do anything again.
Yeah.
Which was a terrible, terrible use
Right.
of Dr. Manhattan.
Right, and he even went so far as to give himself amnesia, so he couldn't remember who he even was, and that's what I was kind of talking to, where it kind of speaks to the character of John Osterman as this super being, who this like very science oriented, boring human being who doesn't have much of an imagination, like his
Here's some imagination. He was a white dude. A white scientist dude, and then as soon as he got superpowers, he turned himself into whatever dude with the biggest dick possible. That was his imagination. He's like, I don't give a shit what I like, because he was even told her like, I don't care what I look like. Well, my looks don't matter to you. But at that point, already he was already swinging back like a basket of tennis balls, right? You already know that was like the first thing he did. All right, wait, I can do anything. Make my dick fucking huge, and then he was good.
Hey. Hey, I mean, I think that would fix a lot of men's problems.
He's
in
like,
this
I have no
country,
more
in this world.
imagination after this.
Who needs imagination when you can fucking lay dick like a god? But like his lack of imagination they kind of show that when he goes to create his own life on Europa, he just ends up creating these two people who sort of told him to create something special, and he just sort of was like, this is the best I can do, is just people that I know from my past. Because they also explain how John Osterman was a Jew during the Nazi regime who escaped to London to this couple who he sees having sex with in a closet that he was hidden in, and they sort of tell him that what they were doing was beautiful. They were creating life, and that was like the purpose of life or whatever, is to create life. And so he went, and his fucking unimaginative ass was just like, well, I guess I'll just make a bunch of those people who told me that. So that's me making life. And
because he thought they were so nice and pure, and he thought that those people, because I mean, they obviously were. They were rich people that were not persecuted by the Nazis, who were somewhere in Austria that were helping him out.
London.
I mean, like,
Well, it was
where was it?
It was the UK.
It was the UK.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, you're right. They were obviously big-hearted people who already was trying to help. But anyways, just sort of going back and speaking.
I kind of think it's a dick move. He stole that castle though from Earth. He's just like,
wait, did he steal or did he recreate it?
No, he said that was the one place he felt safe, so he teleported it there. He's just like
someone's castle.
He's like, that was somebody's home.
Yeah, someone's some rich guy's castle. Like, where the fuck's my castle?
Whatever. To Dr. Manhattan's point, he's like, that rich asshole could buy another castle.
He's good. If you can buy one castle, you can buy another castle. Okay? You're good. You're good, baby. You're good. Don't worry about it. Don't cry. Let's see. So, yeah. So I did want to swing back to the Lady True's little speech, and then that awesome moment where she was like, "You're gonna kill us, right?" He's like, "Oh yes."
Oh yeah. You're gonna die.
She fucking laser points their bitch asses to death. It's pretty good. But now we're back to Town Square in Tulsa, and Lady True, Ozymandias is following Lady True. I'm getting some timelines mixed up. Now, did they make their appearance after they transported to the Town Square? Ozzy and Lady True, they made their appearance.
Yeah,
to
they were there.
Yeah, that's
before,
right. They were transported,
and then Lady True transports them all
right to the Town Square.
To the Town Square,
and then as they're walking to the square, that's when Ozymandias has that conversation with the news guy.
Yeah,
he gets all mad because he was like, he walked into the jungle and never came back, which is kind of true. Because she was in that
that's
jungle.
Before. That's right when they're walking into like that.
Right, they're
yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
So they're like walking into. That's way before like they're just getting set up at that point because they set up in the Tulsa, Oklahoma town hall way before everybody gets there, and then they transport because those batteries that she yelled them. That's the transport. That was the teleporter. So as soon as they flip that on, that teleported all those people there to them.
Right.
And then she just like, so Alexander fights there, or Adrian fights there, and everybody's just like hanging out already.
Right.
And just waiting for him to show up, right? And then that's why he says to Lori, he says, wow, this is a nice treat running into you here. And she's like, am I dead? He's like, nope, not yet, but the night's young.
Yeah, the night is young. Well, it was funny when he was talking to that news guy, or that newsstand guy who was just like, when he was like, yeah, they think he walked into the jungle and never came back.
Oh,
and
he's
he
so
was like,
mad.
That's absurd. But it was kind of true because he was in Lady True's little jungle terrarium, the Vietnam jungle terrarium. So he did kind of get lost in the jungle, but that's reaching.
That's a stretch.
But I interrupted us just to say a stretch. That's useful.
But so she's there. She just lasered everybody up, and John sees some blood of Senator Keene.
So they open up the chamber where Senator Keene was.
Oh yeah, she
Wasn't
does that
there
first.
some pounding? Didn't it sound like there was pounding?
No,
in there?
there's no pounding. It got vaporized.
Right.
Like
So when they open up that booth,
it's just all blood, guts, like just juice,
primordial goo,
just human juice.
Human juices. She was just like, "Oh, you got to do something, or else it'll make you."
And she
blow
made
up."
fun of him so hard for a little bit. It was really good.
Yeah.
It was really good. And
it's a
then
pretty satisfying moment.
pretty satisfying moment for that dude to get his just desserts, right?
Yeah, that was good.
But that juice that from Senator King flows into Dr. Manhattan's
lithium
cage.
box, yeah.
And it's like a bridge that he can make from out to in, right? So he uses his one last like amazing, gift to teleport him or teleport Alexander Adrian Veidt and Looking Glass
and Lori Blake.
Lori, and also doesn't he teleport the kids? And
well, the kids weren't there.
no, the kids are there in the end of the Hood of Justice.
But they're in the thing.
They got teleported.
Did they?
Yeah.
When did they show that?
They don't show it, but they said they just arrived there safely.
Oh yeah. Because they were. That's right. You're
and then
absolutely
he
right.
put him to sleep. They were a little disoriented after the teleport, and then he put him to sleep. Because he's a good grandpa.
He's a good when they walked in, I thought they were all dead or slain. I thought it was a bunch of people dead. I was like, what the fuck did she want?
Oh, now this grandpa's a murderer?
Yeah, grandpa murders his own.
No, he's a good grandpa. He was staying there,
grandpa.
and honestly, he probably could stop anybody that came after him. I mean,
well, he has that fancy little flashlight, that mesmerizer.
is that what it is? Is it mesmerizer?
Yeah, remember he had a thing, and that's how he got Judd to hang himself. He didn't do anything. He was just an old man in his fucking chair.
That's dope.
Well, that's what I thought.
I need one of those with traffic
I thought
tickets.
because Lady True gave all these TVs to people in
I remember you
PeteyPedia.
saying that.
Yeah, so in PeteyPedia, it said that Lady True came into town, and because of all the construction and all the noise she was making and all the trouble she was bringing, with construction, that she was going to give everybody a flat screen TV. And so I thought that she was going to pair up with William Reeves, the Hood of Justice, and use the mesmerizer technology to do something with it. That didn't turn out what that Millennium Clock thing was, or whatever that fucking clock was. It ended up.
No, the Millennium Clock turned out to be what I thought it was, which was a weapon to destroy Dr. Manhattan.
Dr. Manhattan.
And become Dr.
And I remember
Manhattan.
when you said that, and I wasn't completely convinced because I wasn't sure if Lady True was a bad guy or not, because we're going back to that blurred lines thing where it's like some of these people, they have these intentions, but like they say one thing, their intentions are one thing, or they don't even know that about themselves. And then
this thing's full of those. You don't really find out Senator Keene's a real bad dude, and then he just gets eviler and evil until the end, where you're just like rooting
straight
for
up
him.
redneck, just
straight
fucking
up, just
rallying
terrible,
the Klan.
right? He was a real fun character.
He was
real
actually
fun. I love characters you could love to hate. You know, there's so much good.
Perfect. And he had that shitty shit-eating grin, where he could just. Politicians, which is just what politicians do. They have those fake smiles.
Joe Biden reminds me of that right now. Joe Biden's the one that's on me right now. Like he's just like after he wanted to do push-up contest, I really wanted to challenge him to any contest I could challenge you to, Joe. If you're listening to this, let's go.
Zak Hutner will challenge you to a push-up contest right now.
Anything.
Who'd he challenge a push-up?
Some old dude who's like, yo, if Trump gets ousted, shouldn't you not be able to run because you pretty much did the same thing over there? And it's like, yeah. And he's like, no, you're not right. I'm going to tell you why you're right. I don't know. It just doesn't matter.
I can do more push-ups than Donald Trump.
It was at the Iowa caucus. They're yelling about that.
Jesus.
It'll be good. This is just a TV show. It's not our country or anything.
No, yeah. What's happening now in the real world?
Robert Redford, if you're listening, I mean, maybe you want to take a crack at it.
Well, this is what I was saying. Like, I was just like, fuck, dude, because before I knew there's not supposed to be a second season, I was like, it would be so cool if they could bring Robert Redford onto the show as the president, because there's so many unanswered questions. But we'll get there. So. Dr. Manhattan transports Lori, Looking Glass, and fucking Ozymandias to
Antarctica.
To his Fortress of Solitude. And wait a second, there's something else that happens in the Tulsa city. Oh yeah, so Angela is confused by the whole thing because it's like, why did you transport them and not me? Are we missing something?
No, that's what happens. They transport him, and then basically Lady True gets upset that she teleported him, and she says, where'd you take him? Because she's honestly A, still afraid of Adrian Veidt, and B, she wants to keep him as a pet. So she's super pissed off that he's not there. And like you said, she
Right.
wanted an audience right there.
Right. And
so she even says at the point, I don't need an effing audience, right?
That's right.
I'm so above this, right? Or
Right.
whatever. But she's not. She's a little girl. She's
But
crying.
yeah,
that
did you see that pouty face?
She was a little pouty.
Pouty face. She's like, when she's pushing the buttons and Beyonce.
Fine. I guess I'll just become like the most powerful entity ever to exist.
By myself with no
Yeah.
witnesses.
It's a very stable god right there.
Well, yeah, that narcissism, that need.
And he says takes one to know one in Latin. I don't know how to say that, but I remember learning that a long time ago. It was very classy. Anyone knows Latin is just trying a little too hard, but whatever.
Well, also when that thing is powering up to go take Manhattan, Adrian Veidt starts quoting stuff, and what he's quoting actually is from the. I wrote it down. I'm gonna find this. Hold on. Oh, I think it's back here because I made a bunch of side notes too. So I made notes and then I made side notes, which is ridiculous. So, so Ramses II was his password. Let's see. But what he was saying was, so Ozymandias is Greek. Oh, this goes back to his name. That's not what it was. But it's something. Well, anyways, Ozymandias is Greek for the name for the Egyptian king Ramses III. Okay. So Ozymandias is Ramses III or the second is actually
okay. But what did he say during
But he was quoting was he was quantum centrifuge. That's right. That's what the Millennium Clock was. It was Merneptah. It was a quote from the Merneptah stele. I don't know if that's how you say it, but it's the oldest written reference of Israel.
The Rosetta Stone.
I thought that was like what translates stuff. That was like the key to translating.
Yeah, that's what the Rosetta Stone, and that's what's on it. So
Merneptah.
Yeah, so it's a list of everything that these guys hated, and Israel's on it. That's literally
right. Well, it was the conquest of the areas east of Egypt. That's what it was talking about. That's what's in it. And
and they list out all their enemies, and that's how we translated Egypt. And because we already knew Hebrew, we could translate Egypt. We could translate ancient Egyptian. This is not in modern day Arabic, but we could translate a lot of other things. Like Aramaic was a language that people used to use. Ancient Greek thing. There's Phoenician, which is I think Persian. I don't know.
I thought Venetian, isn't that from the?
Where is it from?
The place, the island that's sinking, Venice.
Oh, maybe they were powerful at one time. All these people are powerful at one time.
Yeah, they all had their time in the sun.
Now it's America's time, and now we're in the setting of the sun.
We're just like, what the? Like, we just keep on just eating shit right
now.
So
anyways, like he says that, and she calls her. He says that's a sociopath. It takes one to know one.
Right. Well, he said narcissist.
A narcissist. That's what he says.
Because he saw it in her, and you know, if you're going through this much trouble to get your parents to see you do that, like there's something to that too. I know I'm focusing on that, but like to me, there's something that speaks volumes about wanting, you know, going through that much trouble just to show your parents that you're worthy or something. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. It's just something sticks out there.
My brother has a medical degree and doesn't practice medicine, so yeah, I think I know a little bit about that.
Which one is that?
Aaron.
Aaron has a medical degree?
Yeah, some. I think he was an anesthesiologist or something.
But he does computers?
Yeah, I mean he works for Capital One.
So he does way better.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I thought. Well, okay. Whatever.
He makes a lot of money. Yeah, it doesn't
he's
matter.
Like he's very happy just making all his money at Capital One.
I don't even think so. Like they live in DC. It's very expensive. Very expensive.
I'm about to be in DC next Saturday.
Really?
Yeah.
Give him a call.
I'm not gonna hang out with Aaron.
Give him a call. You'll have a great time.
I'm not calling Aaron.
He'll take you out.
Maybe I will. We're just gonna go and take Bishop to the Smithsonian.
Did you call and get tickets in advance?
Do you have to?
Yes.
The last time I went, I just walked
You
in that
do
bitch.
have to do that now. When did you went, like 10 years ago?
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah, it's different now.
Okay. Well, thank you for that tip. Because
They got an app. Apps. Everything's an app.
Have you been there? Have you been there lately?
Yeah, I went there without the tickets and was very disappointed when
You couldn't go in?
No, because it's like they
They can only have a limit.
especially during the holidays. Like there's only so many people that can go in there per the fire code and everything, and then they set up it's like anything else. It's the most popular attraction in America, supposedly.
Is it really?
That's what they say.
That's fun. So we're back. Where'd they go from there? So Lady True.
Lady True is taking.
She's taking her pouty win.
And
and she starts killing him with the Millennium.
And Adrian Veidt says something really funny. He says, "Call me a one-trick pony," or what do you say?
A rerun.
Call me a rerun.
Yeah,
he says, "I'll show you a rerun."
Yeah.
And then he tells the looking glass, "Turn that degree to exactly 22 degrees." Exactly 20. Which I don't know if that would really work. Cold's fucking cold, right?
Right.
I mean, cold's cold, right?
It seems like 22 degrees would take longer to freeze those because they kind of have to. It's almost like they have to pass through the cold to be cold.
I don't know. Turn it down to like how cold does that thing
I would
go?
just be negative because you want to make sure it's real cold.
Crank it down.
Yeah, just turn it down.
Just turn it fucking down.
Which I also like they call him a hayseed.
Yeah.
Which Looking Glass is very and he's a really smart guy.
But so it starts like raining down on all these frozen squids. Right?
Oh fuck! I'm sorry. We missed though why Angela was left behind.
Oh yeah. So Angela's left behind because Dr. Manhattan doesn't want to die alone. He loves her.
Because that's her. That's like
he does
that
do
human
something.
side.
He does do something that's very sweet. He says, "I'm imagining not imagining. I'm experiencing our entire relationship right now," which is like. Man, any nerd girl would get pretty wet if you could say that, right? If
Dude, that it was a cool scene. I really liked how they were giving him just a bit of humanity, and especially because of how big of a deal they made of it in the comics, of how he felt like he was losing his humanity until he finally sort of does, and just is indifferent.
Well, he had to give away his godliness to take back some of his humanity, which makes sense because you can't have both.
Right.
That's the whole trade-off being a god.
Yeah, you can't
pretty lonely.
Pretty lonely on the top, baby.
Pretty lonely.
So now we're back on Europa, and
no, we're not back on Europa. We're back in Antarctica, and he's at
you're right.
He's at his squid lair where his automated machine is, and he says the rerun. He says he's about to show her, and it's just raining, and she's standing straight out, arms out, right?
Yeah,
Remember
almost
that?
like a Christ figure.
Yeah, and they got that Christ in the back wall, right?
The Christ Christ figure is in the back. There's the actual crucifix hanging in the back.
She's about to be Jesus.
Right.
And she just gets this squid right through her hand. Just right through her.
Funny.
And she doesn't say anything or react at all.
No, she's just looking at her hand like, what the fuck?
In disbelief or something, but that would hurt, man.
And she doesn't even attempt to move. She sees her. She's looking up. Dr. Manhattan at this point is pretty much dead, right?
He's gone.
He's dead.
And even Veidt says something the best thing.
Oh my god, it's the best.
Because I think Laurie's like, "Do you think we could still save him?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Laurie, that dude's dead. Bitch.
Oh yeah, he's dead by now. But we could do this,
we can save us." And that's the real. That's in essence that's the whole thing about Watchmen, because the original one was so much about all the bad things the movie was so much about all the bad things they did in order to preserve the peace, and Rorschach can't live with himself because they've done so much bad shit, and he just sees everything as black and white, good or bad. Right. So at the end, he asks Dr. Manhattan, he's like, if that's how it is and we can't tell everybody the truth of what we really did to save the Earth, and it has to be a mystery forever, I don't want to live. And Dr. Manhattan's just like, you don't want to live?
Bye.
Easy, all right? Goodbye.
Bye, Rorschach.
So he's gone, and, that's just in essence what Watchmen's really about. It's difficult decisions to make to save, to save the masses versus what do I want to say?
You trying to say break a few eggs to make an omelet?
No, I don't want to say it like that. It's like more like, you can't look at like a little, even if you have a small part of the population that you love there, you can't look at them as, they're not worth more than the sum of the whole, right? And that's,
right.
That's really what...
A person is a person, whether
Even if you know them or not,
right?
So even if there's 10 guys over there and there's 1,100, you have to save the 1,100. And that was the whole idea behind killing everybody in New York and the East Coast.
Yeah. Is to save from the impending nuclear war that was building from the Cold War is in the comics. So that was the whole reason for the squid. So now the frozen squids are coming down. Lady True's is standing there with a hole in her hand, and she sees her like machine or the quantum centrifuge getting pelted. Also, Lori calls one of the booths, which is interesting. She calls one of the booths to warn them.
I didn't know those booths had like a two-way.
Yeah, I didn't know it.
Like, does anyone ever get like a call from Dr. Manhattan? He's like, "Hey, how's it going?"
Yeah, I heard about that thing you said last week. I respect that.
Why would Dr. Manhattan use a phone to call you back? Like, couldn't he just like implant like the memory in your brain?
I don't know, man. I don't know. There's a.
I love how it's just a scam just to make money. I wish there was something. Is there like a way we can bring back payphones? And here you can talk to Donald Trump if you get on this paper.
It'll go straight to Donald Trump.
I swear it goes straight to Donald Trump. I'm gonna put him all in the South. All right.
That'd be so dope. I'm gonna tell you what happened to me today, Donald.
Big red payphones. I'm sure I can get a bunch on cheap. Right?
I got passed over for a promotion because one of them Mexicans came up a different bird.
You just gotta have like buzzwords like billions and billions.
Yeah, whatever will get his attention. So the where the fuck are we?
It's raining down on the centrifuge.
Oh yeah. The centrifuge breaks.
Lori Blake just calls Angela, and she's like, "You got to get the fuck out of there." And Angela's like, "Where's it coming from?" And then she's like, "It's coming from the sky." Which
it's coming from all over, bitch. Go.
Very scary. So then she just like waits there for a little bit with
in the booth
with the grandma
with Beyond,
daughter, with Beyond the grandma daughter.
No, it's the daughter mom.
With daughter mom, and they're just like, it's kind of like that when you're looking outside and it's raining and you got to get to your car.
It's hailing. Yeah,
that's how they were wearing. They're like, "Are you gonna go for it?" "No, not me."
Yeah,
it was very weird body language for such a tense moment, especially when like somebody had just like taken the life of your husband, and you're just gonna be cool with the daughter, mom of the child. I don't know.
It was weird. So she ends up finding some plastic cover, and she runs through it, and she's blocking it with the cover over her head, like blocking the squids. While the daughter mom gets put into a police car, I guess, afterwards.
No, the daughter mom...
she stays in the booth. She stays in the booth. But there's this scene where it shows her in the back of a police car, and it makes her look like she's like sad and doesn't know what's going on, which I don't know if that's true or if that's something that she's putting on, because she's smart. She's Lady True's mom, so she has all those memories. She has all this information. I mean, it just seems like she's playing innocent. But, I mean, if you just saw your daughter mom, like if you just saw your daughter or your mom or your daughter mom, because it's the same in reverse, right? I don't
think that's from genetic material or her genetic material. She cloned her mom,
right?
So it's just like that's still her mom.
That's not from
technically
her.
It's not even her daughter, right? She's just telling other people her daughter because it makes sense, right? But that's just a clone,
So I don't know what's up with that, but anyways,
also, I noticed at the end when she puts in the Red Scare doesn't have his mask on. A lot of the cops don't have their mask on at the end of that.
Oh, I didn't see that.
A lot of the cops don't have their mask, and that does that foreshadow something?
That talks to the end of when Angela's talking to William Reeves, Hooded Justice, in the theater, when he was saying, what did he say? He's like, mask. What did he mask say? Cover. Basically, he was saying that you gotta take the mask off to heal. Mask.
He called them wounds. Wounds need air to heal.
Right.
That's what he said. He said wounds need air to heal.
Right.
Something about
the masks were there to cover wounds, and then
like
wounds need air to heal. So basically, there was a great little back and forth, but we're almost there. We're almost there because then so after Lady True gets smashed by her own machine, and Angela gets off to wherever she's going. Where is she going? I don't even know where she's. Oh, she's going home.
Oh, she's going to the movie theater.
Oh, she's going to the theater. But
she just runs straight to that theater, having no idea
right.
that they're there. But Dr. Manhattan teleported, all those people there, all her family there, so she would know. And the theater happens to be about 2 doors down from her fake bakery.
Right.
Right.
Right. And that's where Will Reeves, the series even starts, is at that theater during the Tulsa massacre.
Yep.
And but they go back to Karnak first, right? Because then don't they go back to Karnak, and that's where they show like Adrian getting pissed off because Laurie's like, no.
That's right at the end, but yeah,
right.
Adrian's walking out, and he's like, all right, well, here's the
Archie.
Here's Archie. Get the fuck out of here. Essentially, I hope to never see any of you people again. I much like my silence and my aloneness,
right.
and
I saved the world again. So go away.
And I gave you a ship, so I'm a pretty nice guy. And
pretty cool.
Pretty cool dude. And then the one dude just, Looking Glass is just super upset. He's like, no, you don't understand. I was getting a hand job while I was naked, and this girl stole my clothes. And then everyone died. All right? Because of you, okay? Yeah. All right, have you ever been receiving a hand job and stopped it, and then everyone died?
Well, I don't think he was getting a hand job yet. I think before any kind of...
I thought I was going to get a hand job, and then everyone died.
You know what it's like when you think
you go from such highs to such lows. Do you understand?
Okay, so that's after the
that's like the last. That's like one of the last scenes. So no, the last scene is her eating the egg. But we'll talk about that in a second.
Okay, so then let's go back to the Dreamland Theater, which we were looking up online because we saw the lights were out and it said DRM and then it had other words.
Yeah,
and it was saying that it might be a reference to Dr. Manhattan, like maybe and then it had the name of the I think the director or something, Tessa Zurin or
no, it's Tessa Hurston.
Hurston, yeah, because of Zora Hurston, who is a famous black author.
But we don't know who Tessa is yet.
We don't know who Tessa is yet. Zach keeps on saying yet, like we should be expecting some kind of second fucking season, but I don't know. Here's the thing about when I was listening to that guy talk about it. David Lellendorf or whatever the fuck his name is, he was saying he didn't even realize that the show ended on a cliffhanger until Looking Glass.
That doesn't surprise me at all. That guy is like the most clueless human being ever.
Yeah.
And like honestly, I read that.
Doesn't surprise me at all.
He's got another novel it's at my dad's house. Another graphic novel. It's Wolverine versus Hulk, which is pretty good. They're on like some crazy planet where they just have like gladiator games.
Is it What If?
No, it's not What If. It's Marvel's. It's just Wolverine versus Hulk.
I thought there was a What If. Comic.
I was just looking on his.
What if the Hulk fought Wolverine or something? I don't know.
Yeah, it's probably that one.
Who did that?
He did. That's Damon Lendendorf or whatever.
No, I thought he was just a director. Is he a
no,
writer?
He writes, man. He writes. He's actually done a couple other things. Before Tomorrowland is another thing I definitely recommend you guys check out. He did Legends of Dark Knight, which is I'm not a DC guy. He also did another Legends of Batman novel.
Oh, so he was.
And
actually...
he did one that I saw in the comic book store, and I thought this is the dumbest fucking thing, and it makes me so happy that there's this Cowboys versus Aliens. Check it out,
and it
dude.
turned into a movie, right?
Check it out, dude.
Yeah,
yeah,
wow.
Garbage.
It had James Bond in it.
But yeah, he's also, like you said, Leftovers, Lost, World War Z, which I was not really...
You know what? World War Z, going back to it, wasn't bad, but the book was way tighter. But the book is nothing like the movie, so it's not even the same. It's not even the same story, really. But what were we just talking about? Oh, yeah, because he was at lunch with Looking Glass, whoever the actor is with Looking Glass, and was like, he was telling him, he was telling Looking Glass, like, this is a standalone story. He's like, we wrote this as a standalone story. He's like, if you think this is a standalone story, you're a fucking idiot. Because, is Angela Dr. Manhattan? Like, what's going on here? There's a lot of unanswered questions, but we're going to get there. So, So Will Reeves and Angela have this back and forth when she goes into the Dreamland Theater and talking about how you got to take the mask off to air the wounds, and she's still reeling from losing her husband, and their kids are there, and it's just this fucking this scene, and as they're filing out and going into the bakery, the one boy sees her hood Sister Night outfit and puts it together, and he's like, oh shit.
Well, and more importantly, that boy, all those kids are slain police officers children, right? But that boy specifically said, I don't want you to be a cop. That little boy was pretty adamant, like, I don't want you to do that stuff. My mom and dad are dead. You're my mom now. Don't fucking be a cop, right?
Yeah.
And she's been lying to him the entire time, and he saw that, and he kind of got a little excited.
Yeah, he did, because you see this really quick scene where they're putting him in the bed, and he's all like wide-eyed and bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. But I thought, doesn't that kid have powers?
I thought that kid had powers.
Didn't he have powers?
Yeah,
wasn't he elevated that?
He's a gifted child. I don't think his powers are. I don't know what his powers are, but I
thought he had levitated that. Remember when they were building that building out of those metal pieces, and then all of a sudden he was just like he was done, and it all fell to pieces. You not remember that? It was earlier in the season.
I have to go back and watch that.
I think that kid fucking had powers, and like I don't know. I don't think he was Dr. Manhattan, because all those kids came from different places, right?
All those kids are different places.
Yeah. Can Dr. Manhattan have kids?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean, he probably could have. He probably do whatever he wants, right?
He just makes one out of his hand. Like, here's a kid.
It's like one of his other parts of imaginations. I made a giant dong, and I don't get anyone pregnant. It's awesome. That's my only two imaginations.
Yeah. Well,
hey. After that, I saw every time and every space, and me doing it with everyone in every time, in every space.
All at the same time. So yeah, there's some questions there. Is like, does that kid have powers? And is Angela...
it more like, does that kid grow up to keep going? Because Angela's dad was a hooded justice,
right?
Or her grandfather,
right?
Her grandfather was hooded justice. Was her dad?
It was her grandfather.
Her grandfather was hooded justice, and then because her parents and her father was in the armed forces, right? I don't know what he did in Vietnam, but he was in the armed forces, and so she's always felt a sense of duty. So it would make sense that this young boy would go and carry on the family sense of duty after learning the wrong and right and everything.
There's also this theme of legacy in the show that I love, where like you got Adrian Veidt's daughter, Lady True, who comes back. You got fucking Angela and her grandfather. There's this lineage coming through. There's a few other things. even with the Keens, like Senator Keene, like he fucking...
That's a good point.
Obviously was this fucking undercover racist senator who fucking grew raised another undercover racist senator. So there's a lot of there's a lot of themes of lineage and legacy that's sort of inheriting your family's fucking you inherit the good and bad.
Inherit the hate.
You inherit it. You inherit the things. You inherit the bad and the good.
Just seems such an extra life, like so much extra work. I get done with my work today, like I have no extra work to have like a secret society that hates random sect of people.
Yeah, when you have time for this,
I just want to play guitar and just
how do you
go
have
on
time
with my
for
day.
It's like how people will go crazy on Facebook for all fucking day. How do you have time?
Oh, they'll just be like, you said that, and then I got this point and this point. Wait, I'm waiting for the next guy who comes at me.
How do you have time to fucking hate that much? Like, how do you have time to where you hate so much that you have to go to like a weekly meeting or like a nightly?
You've got to be so tired.
And how much planning goes into killing Dr. Manhattan and being a part of those racist?
I like to relax at a lake. I go there on the weekends.
Yeah.
I don't do anything. Right?
I like to chill once in a while.
Right?
I don't have enough hate to go to another place after dinner. To
meet up with other people who hate the same thing.
Yeah, it's like
just as much as you hate it.
That much hate motivates, man. Hate motivates. I mean, it's funny what motivates people. It's like spite, hatred, jealousy.
I swear.
like,
You ever meet somebody who's like really, really old?
Yeah.
They got some spite.
Well,
I just hate keeps you young.
You live a
like.
You live a long life. You live a long life.
I had a great grandmother who
hate
didn't speak any English, and she hated every policeman or anything like that. Right? Yeah, she just kept her alive a long time. My other grandma hates a bunch of stuff. She's like 98 years old right now.
She hates which side of the family hates the policeman?
Oh, all the Jewish ones. I wonder why.
The ones who were like rounding them up and shit.
Came to America by force, right?
God damn. So is that what happened with your family? Did they come before all that, or were they even a part of that?
Some of Jim's family came before that. All my mom's family came before, and settled in Youngstown.
Ugh.
And then right.
Well, at one point, Youngstown was great.
My grandpa told me he got paid to start cars during the Bob War, and I was like, "Wait, why?" He's like, "Why'd they pay you?" He's like, "'Cause cars would explode." And I was like, "So you just start them?" He's like, "For $5, I'll start any car."
Ouch. All right. Well, fuck it. So where are we now? Are we past?
So the kids are tucked in, and she's cleaning up the mess.
Oh, that's the very end. So we skipped where they're back at Karnak. So let's just cover that.
I thought we talked about it. Karnak. Oh no, we didn't.
Well, fucking, what's his name?
Looking Glass.
Looking Glass is pissy about it.
He's upset.
There's that huge conspiracy that because the world doesn't know that Adrian Veidt unleashed this alien, like they just think some alien octopus or what was the source that people
it's
think
a trans-dimensional being.
That's what they thought.
And they're thinking there's a rip in the space-time fabric, and there is something, a tear over New York and the East Coast, and periodically shit will fall out, and these things that are falling out are these baby squids that, the media has been or Veidt has told everybody that they're just flying through, and then they get caught, and then they go to this one. But really, he's just making all these things. We know now, right?
Right.
And Looking Glass was a real turned on, and then everybody died. So now he's like real upset, and he's like spent an entire life living underground and
being scared
just
being
a little extra nuts because something bad, terrible happened to you. And I gotta say, Looking Glass, I understand your trauma, but it's not on us for you to feel better. It's on you to heal yourself, and that is a message to you, Looking Glass. Heal your pain, all right?
Because if you're not taking care of yourself, how can you be expected to take care of anybody else?
It's very inconsiderate if you're thinking of it like that.
This is the argument I use with my wife all the time. I was like, you need to go get a massage because what use are you if you're a fucking big ball of tense energy walking around fucking spitting venom at everyone who looks at you wrong? And it's like, go and do something for yourself. So because what will happen is that she'll take on all this responsibility, and then she'll be sitting there on her cross dying like, I work so hard. I never get time for myself. Oh,
make time for yourself. Everybody wants to.
Make sure you have time for yourself. I go on my way to make sure. And what will you do with it? You'll sit on Instagram.
Well, if that's how you want to use your time for yourself, that's fine. You can't,
right?
You can't
but
tell
like, I don't know.
Time.
Like for me, yeah, you're right. I can't.
Everyone's relaxation is like different.
How does that work for you?
You're
right. But we're off point now. So fucking.
But he says he's like, yo, Adrian Veidt, you're going to fucking jail. You're going to prison for this. You killed a bunch of people. We're gonna kill you.
Lori's like, well, you killed 3 million people.
And then Lori's like, he's kind of right. Everybody knows now. Like, I know I've known for a while, but I guess I'll go along. And he's like, Lori, the fuck?
Yeah.
We've been friends forever. You knew
I just saved the world twice.
Like, I just did it again, and you're just gonna she's like, nope. I'm gonna go, and he starts talking about.
I just love how indignant he gets. He always gets so indignant about. He's just like, "How dare you question me?"
You know what he reminds me of? Do you remember that guy who would talk like the egg show on? Remember Nick and Knight?
Yes.
That'll date us. Remember they had that show where the car would talk like this. I don't know what it's called, man. I'll look it up and I'll send it to you.
How dare you.
I was hoping you'd nail it.
Oh, is it the guy who had the diabetes?
Yeah, it was the guy.
Is that
had
Wilford
diabetes.
something?
Yeah,
Wilbur,
it was that guy.
Wilford was.
We talk like this all the
Yeah,
time.
he was always selling diabetes. One must
No, but this is a
wow.
real show he had on. It was like
Yeah, because he was from a show.
It was a real show. I swear, he wasn't just always a
No,
joke.
he wasn't a diabetes guy. He was.
He's just a joke recently.
That's all he's been. Is a
So
joke.
they take him and like he's going on, fight's going on, and then Mir just comes up with a crescent wrench and he just
He talks too much.
he talks too much.
Talk too much. And Lori's like, "Yep, yeah."
But that's why I'm so bummed there's not going to be another season because I want to see the trial between him and Man.
Not only the trial, which I agree will be fun, but like the
series on that.
unleashing of information when a mass of people learn a piece of information all at once. And that everyone all at once is elevated to a new level of consciousness, knowing that fucking Adrian Veidt sent this squid onto the world to save it, but murdered 3 million people. I mean, what is the reaction to that? What happens to President Redford? Like, is he gonna go to jail because he knew about it and he didn't say shit? I mean, he obviously has been enjoying his presidency for the last 20 or 30 years.
I don't know what happened when they found out there's no nukes in Iraq.
Nothing.
Pretty much nothing would happen to Redford. I mean, they're just gonna hold Veidt and contempt or
But I still would want to see that. I still like the idea of like what happens to this world afterwards, and as well,
I know what
like
you're saying.
and then how you pointed out how you noticed people didn't have masks on. The cops didn't have masks, and so is Angela after talking to William Reeves going to be like, "Fuck that! I'm not wearing a mask anymore because this is who I am, and I'm going to be who I am, and I'm not going to be afraid."
And I want to see how her powers develop because I don't know if you remember how Dr. Manhattan became Dr. Manhattan. So the reaction happens and they're trying something new with some quantum whatever, right? We'll use quantum because that's the word we're going to use. I think it was gamma ray in the comic books, but it doesn't matter. He, gets radioactivized and he just disintegrates. And then like 3 days later, like a ghost appears in the same lab he's working, just screaming. Periodically, a ghost just screaming, right?
Oh my God.
And then it takes like him months for him to materialize. So he had to build up his powers. So he went for a whole part where it's like everything was ripped apart, right?
Right.
And then he had to build up his ability just to
Put himself back
manifest
together.
Yeah, to manifest himself and just like it take up space, right? So he did that, and I want to see how Angela would grow and become Dr. Manhattan because she's going to have to go through the same trials of, testing out her powers and what everything. Because I think the best thing to open up that, if they do open up another season, best thing, she steps right in the water, sinks right down to the bottom.
That would be cool.
And then boom, it just starts the whole thing, and she slowly gains her powers, and maybe she doesn't go blue until a while.
Right. Well, that's sort of what brings us back to the house and what brings us to that scene because they William Reese says like they reveal, I think, was it at the very end or was it in the theater where he reveals that the whole plan was Dr. Manhattan's in the first place?
Yeah,
because Dr. Manhattan
he says that right in the theater.
Oh, okay.
It was Dr. Manhattan's plan in the first place.
Right, he hatched it. People. He came to William Reeves, and
the whole plan was just to annihilate Cyclops.
Right.
That was the whole plan.
Right.
Like Lady True, that's all a side thing. That's a side thing.
But it was also to prevent. Wasn't it to prevent something? Oh no, William Reeves. His only mission was to bring justice to the Cyclops.
Yeah, I mean that's what William Reeves wanted to do, and then Manhattan I saw it as I can
because
get
he
rid
knows
of
he's gonna
Cyclops.
Die though.
But the reason why he wants to die is because he knows that if he gets involved, he's too powerful. So it'll just be like another Vietnam, and he can't live on here and really exist and be in a conscious plane with anybody else. So he's kind of like trapped in these whole things. Am I really living? Like is a life sentence really life? If you have to sit in a box all the time, which for him, even if he could go anywhere else, he couldn't interact with any of it.
Yeah. Well, anyways, I had a thought on it, but it kind of leaves me now. So fuck it, let's get on with it. But when So he's telling Angela in the theater, he says, you got to break some eggs and make an omelet. And that I every time I hear that now is just because I know that was something that came out of the Stalin regime, that you got to break some eggs to make an omelet, which is, referring to genocide.
Yeah, I think Stalin killed there's like 12 million people that the Nazis killed, right? So
I thought they were in the 40 million.
But is that high?
I thought
Lots of people. But I think
Lots
Stalin's seriously in the 100 million people that he killed.
it was a lot of people.
He killed way more people than anybody.
He got very paranoid at the end. Was just killing like his top generals, family members, and shit. Like it's nuts. So he says we got to break some eggs to make an omelet, and that sort of he also said that you would know what he meant when the time came. So that was almost like a direct message from Dr. Manhattan, which, Laurie puts everybody to bed, and that's when we see that interaction between her and her son. And, she comes downstairs after a long-ass day and comes back to the eggs on the floor that were broken from when Cal or Dr. Manhattan was making food for whatever reason. Or what was the reason?
He wanted to make waffles. He's just wanted to make waffles. He's like, I need waffles, and he was just like, because he just hadn't been in his Dr. Manhattan mind forever, so he's just like overloaded for the first 30 seconds. Like, oh, I'm so excited to do everything, and I liked what he was like. Let's wake the kids. Like, that'd be the most fun. Like, my dad's Dr. Manhattan. This guy just wants to do everything. It'd be super fun right now. Let's wake the kids.
Let's make this a party. So she gets it. It all dawns on her in that moment. Break some eggs. She smashes this carton because she's just so frustrated with his indifference to the importance of the situation.
Well, she didn't feel like he was recognizing the gravity of the situation.
Right, and that was a lot of the things that and even in the comic it comes up. I saw it ends up where he's like, it must be very frustrating for you to be with me. Like the people that he's with, his girlfriends, must constantly be frustrated, and you see that interaction with him and Laurie in the comics, and then of course with Angela and him, which it would be frustrating for someone who's living in all times at all time, like who's in different places.
He's an asterial presence, and he can go through all dimensions, and you can't.
It's the last thing a girlfriend wants is a boyfriend who is not present. So
he's present there. I mean,
he's there.
He just there's also cooler things going on,
right? And I mean, let's all admit that like we've been in the presence of our ladies, and we've been in cooler places in our mind than we were in that moment listening to them. Not to discount anything that they say doesn't have any kind of weight in my life. It's just I'm saying.
Mine's listening in the other door, so I'm gonna say
so
no
Zach's
comment.
sitting out.
No comment.
She's listening intently. What's that?
I always listen intently. I don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly. Anyway, so she decides to take a gamble, right?
She eats the egg raw, which is a gamble.
And she goes
itself.
back. Yeah, it's
but
real.
She eats it, and again, it's interesting that Veidt must not know about the egg. First off, because there's no way Veidt would have let her become a god. Okay,
right.
That's got to be a good thing. But it's really interesting that he did give her an egg, and maybe, for that whole universe, that's what you needed. You needed somebody to counteract Veidt. Maybe you needed somebody on the other end. Maybe you need somebody who's that powerful just to tip the scales back on the side of good. I think Sister Night is a good Dr. Manhattan. I think she reminds me a lot of John's original qualities, and even she's a little more fiery tempered. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's not a good thing for somebody with all that power.
Well, I could see it going in a lot of directions where she could where she could have her moments, but I mean ultimately it just seems like that kind of knowledge and that kind of power just leads to that kind of indifference. That I mean,
maybe that's why they have
I don't think if there is a God in our world, is he sitting around contemplating whether or not we're going to save, the people.
He just looks at how much money you raise for your church. That's the
Yeah,
only thing.
that's the only thing he's
he gets.
concerned
It's
about.
like the IRS, but for your soul. He just gets a monthly
How
tally.
much did you donate?
Oh,
not enough.
not
You're
enough.
going to hell forever.
Not enough.
Well, and it's funny because there's like this question, and even in the show, you know, there's this question of like, is God doing enough? If God exists and He created all of us, and He's nothing but a benevolent being, why is He letting millions of people starve to death? Why is He letting all these terrible things happen? And then you have this like, you know, this parallel with this guy, this blue god who's not really doing shit, you know. He's kind of like the real God,
I
but
mean,
he can blow up Vietnamese.
He did do shit
yeah,
once,
but
and it wasn't
blow
necessarily the best thing,
right.
And I think that's like the best thing to learn from all.
Is
of
God's
Watchmen.
intervention, would that make the
Is
world
that
better?
really a good thing?
Yeah, is that what we want? Is there what repercussions are going to come from God's intervention? You know, like what? Because humans were His creation, right? Or God's creation. And God, I'm going to stop saying He. She gave us the
Shem.
choice of Shem. Shem gave us the option of free choice.
You know what's funny is Shem is the like, you know, the gender neutral.
Is that what it is?
It's
now?
Shen.
I thought it was they or
Shen is a genderless. It's something in Sweden. It means both of the sexes in Sweden. It just only sounds more like male on our end, but it's something the Swedes came around. But Shem is that, and Hashem is God in Hebrew. There's a little fact for you.
There you go. So
God could be either sex, according to the Swedes.
there you go.
If the Jewish Swedes,
Thank you, Jewish Swedes.
a lot of Jewish Swedes, I'm sure, listen to this.
Lots of tall, blonde, blue-eyed Jewish Swedes. I also like the imagery of the egg. The egg, where you saw it throughout the whole thing. And it also, you know, when I was listening to the showrunner, David Lindelof or whatever, he was saying that he wanted something that was was theirs. So like the smiley face, the imagery of the smiley face in the comics with the bullet hole, you know, like he wanted theirs to be the egg.
Well, and you know, also eggs mean new beginnings, new
Right.
starts, and I think it's very symbolic that she was given an egg to start,
Yeah.
maybe becoming the new.
Well, and then you see at the beginning where they show her making the smiley face with the eggs, and then throughout the whole series, there's egg references, and you know, and ultimately it becomes.
What would she be? She'd be Lady Manhattan. What would she be? Sister Manhattan?
Dr. Manhattan?
No, she can't be Doctor.
Well,
She's not a doctor.
what's your mom called?
She's not a doctor.
Your mom's Dr. Hutner.
Yeah, but my mom's a doctor. Like,
Yeah.
she's a cop. She's
Dr. Manhattan was an actual doctor.
Officer Manhattan. Yeah, Dr. Manhattan he was an actual physicist. He was an actual doctor.
Could be Lady Light.
Lady Light. I like Officer Manhattan.
Officer Manhattan's not
Freeze. This is Officer Manhattan.
bad. Why would you even say freeze? All she has to do is go. But who knows what her powers will be? Like, if he transfers his powers, does that mean that it's going to be the same as what his powers were?
Just her boobs get really big. That's
It's just her titties are big.
He's like, damn it, I'm not even here to enjoy this. I made that. That's why I wanted to make the waffles in the first place.
Just give you bigger boobies. I just want more
It was
boobies.
a trick all along.
Just want more boobies. I don't know. I really enjoyed this show. I liked how there's just so much to build off of. There's the source material. There's the world. They could just expand it in so many different ways. Oh, the elephant! I forgot.
Oh yeah, explain to me what the elephant was.
Okay,
going on.
so I was listening.
Was
to
that her grandfather?
No, the elephant was just an elephant because they didn't know what else to do. So I swear to God.
Wait, what?
Yeah, so the elephant was back in episode 7, and they used the elephant because they couldn't think of anything better. Because if it was Will Reeves in that room, you know, where do you go from there? They sort of need Will to be mobile, you know.
This is classic Damon Lindelof bullshit.
Right
here.
But that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, because he fucked himself into a corner. And then he had to figure it out. So they came up with an elephant because one of the other writers were like, well, it's true symbol. Elephants never forget. And so the elephant was sort of this neutral space. Instead of storing it like on a hard drive, she could store people's memories on an elephant. So can you imagine this elephant when he wakes up and he's just wandering in the world with all these fucked up memories of being a gay fucking...
Call PETA over that shit. You guys...
He's like, this elephant thinks he's a gay fucking superhero.
Oh my God, I didn't even think about that. I didn't even think about that.
The elephant
Isn't it weird? Isn't it also awkward that Angela never brought that up to her grandfather?
It's like, so the butt fucking. What's that all about?
I was in your dreams just butt fucking this dude.
I was like, what's that?
Couldn't stop. I wanted to stop, but like, I don't know.
Or unless she's like into it.
You still know him? Who's this guy?
I got a couple more little facts that I wanted to throw in there before we wrap up here. I honestly thought that we were gonna just blow through this and like get it done in an hour.
There's way too much to talk about in this stuff.
I was like, we're gonna be done in an hour.
I think
no
my
problem.
dad said that earlier this week. He's like, I don't understand how there's only one episode left. It needs to be at least 3 episodes. And he said this to me like when my dad says things like that. He's like, Zach, can you go out and do something about that? Like. It was like the gravity when he's like, yeah, I don't know about the lawn looking like that. You should definitely change something up with that, right? It was like, I just remember being like a kid, getting done mowing my lawn, and then him be like, that's a shit job. You got to do it again. That's how he felt about only having 1 episode left.
It's like, Zach, just go take care of this.
What's going on? Are these guys serious with this? This is what we get?
You get this motherfucker on the phone, please. Also, here's another fun thing. The episode is called "See How They Fly," which I think is sort of a call to the
squids.
The squids flying out of the air. And also, it is a lyric at the end of that cover of "I Am the Walrus" by the Beatles. There is actually, and it also says "I am the Eggman" too in there.
Yeah, it does say "I am the Eggman."
And then and then it actually says "See how they fly, see how they say something, see how they laugh, see how they something." Go listen to the fucking song. It's a Beatles song. It's everywhere.
Which Beatles album is that?
Yellow Submarine. "I Am the Walrus." Cuckoo, cuckoo. God, fucking idiots.
It's good when you're on acid. Let me tell you that.
No, I shouldn't be calling the Beatles idiots, but because they obviously did so much.
Well, are they alive?
Most of them. Well, half of them.
That's not very smart of them.
They died. Half of them died. So
Rolling Stones all alive. Okay,
they're all doing one-handed push-ups, motherfucker. Let me see if there's anything else, and then if not, we'll just get the fuck out of here. I mean, what do you think of the series overall as a whole? Like, what did you glean from it? What do you think the thematic meaning is behind it?
Well, I told you at the beginning I was very confused about who the actual bad and good guys were. I was very confused because like when they made Rorschach's Rorschach's like people's character, the racist guys, I was like taken back immediately.
Yeah, like what's up?
What's going on, dude? Why is my boy racist now? I don't remember that at all, ever. And then so that kind of started to blur the lines, and then the Senator Keene kind of blurred the lines more from playing two sides.
Yeah,
what really took me for a loop is when she seemed really cool with the original sheriff or original police chief, and he turned out to be a closet racist too. So it really, really throw me for a loop. It's like, oh shit, I thought the cops who were like, going into Little Nixonville and tearing it down, and like I thought they were like, Antifa if they were a police force, right? if Antifa was a real police force, they would totally wear Russian bullshit masks like that Russian dude. They would totally do that. That's a real thing. So I thought it was like that, and I was like, all right, this is kind of cool. And then like it kind of swapped it on like maybe these guys aren't really good. Maybe there's so much more complex to it. And it was like in everything in life, things are never black or white. They're much more complicated.
It's mostly gray.
Mostly gray.
Like God and death and taxes. Because you don't really have to pay taxes.
Don't pay taxes.
Stop paying taxes.
So I love that. I just thought it was a little bit rushed. I thought we could definitely do with more.
Well, I mean, I think we could have done at least with one more episode, even to give us something.
We could do with a season more. They should give us a season.
Well, and I know that David Lindelof was saying that in homage to the original comics, which ends with Rorschach handing over his diary, saying it's like now it's in your hands because Rorschach, had a diary, he wrote all of it. He put in there the the one who did.
Didn't he give it to like a journalist or something?
Yeah, he gave it to somebody, but they obviously didn't do shit with it. They just sort of was like,
unless they used it, they like stole it. And they're like, I'm gonna write a really racist manifesto. With
yeah. I'm gonna turn this into a racist manifesto.
These are straight from Rorschach. These are all really, really racist. Oh, I didn't think the guy was that racist. Like, well, he wrote it, so.
One more thing, you know, on PeteyPedia, it says that Petey was fired from the FBI, and that he stayed in Tulsa to investigate the situation. So even in PeteyPedia, it says that Petey was fired, but like,
what is PeteyPedia?
PeteyPedia is the not sister material, but like it's like the material that they release with each episode. So if you go on the website, if you go to HBO.com and go there's
they
this
say
whole
why
section.
Pete got fired.
I can't remember, but it says it in a memo, and it's the only thing it says the last entry. And
He's kind of a whiny little bitch.
And probably Lube Man. Anybody who decides to go with Lube Man,
Lube Man is not a good code name.
It's not a good name at all. It's terrible. No, the show was great.
Do you remember Deep Throat with Nixon, like the real Nixon, like
the reporter, or no, the guy who leaked the information.
guy who leaked the information. Yeah. So he was a high school teacher at Southview.
Shut up.
Yeah, like I took a class with him. Like literally. Carrie took a class with him too. Like literally,
really?
like we had no idea. And this guy had told us like he worked for the CIA. Yeah, J.R. Bunker, man. He died a couple of years ago. Yeah, he was on his deathbed. And he's just like, fuck it. I'll just tell everybody I was the guy who leaked it. Fuck you, Nixon.
Well, I thought
that
guy was found out anyways. Wasn't the original guy found out?
No, not who Deep Throat is. Nobody ever knew who Deep Throat was. But that was his code name he chose for. And if you met this guy. Like, you just not think he would choose, like, honestly, he knew what a Deep Throat was. And he was like, not a hip dude.
Even more so, Deep Throat was a massively popular porno.
Was it a massively popular?
Yes, it was a massively popular porno from the 70s. Right, real life, dude.
He was a cool social studies teacher. He used to come in with like on Mondays and be like, I played in a band in high school, and he'd be like, "Where'd your all the kids earlier told me they liked your band, so you gotta tell us all about your band." He made me stand up there and tell them about a band. I'd be like, all a little stoned in the morning. Like, I don't know. I play bass. We play ska music. Have you heard?
It's fast reggae.
It's really cool. It's really cool. I like Rancid. Do you like Rancid? No, you don't know what I'm talking about?
Okay, I'll sit down now.
See you later. It's cool guy.
No, I think overall the show was like, it was great. Like, it was so weird. It was so out there. It was so fucking like, you know, it wasn't what I was expecting. And in fact, I had no real intentions of watching it because, like I said, I never really had a history of Watchmen. I liked the movie a lot, actually. I remember when the movie first came out and I saw it, I was like, wow, this is a really great idea. And then when you start researching the creators behind it, like Alan Moore, who's who hates Marvel because, DC.
He hates DC.
Because DC fucking, the story is that he was supposed to make all his money on the back end, like through the toys and all that shit, but there was some sort of weird clause, and DC was like, "No, you're not getting."
They didn't pay him anything. They didn't end up
getting paid shit because he developed it and then wrote it, and then he just liked it, I guess, right? He liked doing it or something.
I think Batman was one of his original creations, which kind of made some money. Well, so I think
it wasn't, but he didn't create.
No,
Batman.
But it was like a series of Batman that he created.
I thought that was Frank Miller though.
No, he had all of them. I mean, Frank Miller doesn't do all of them. It's like Stan Lee didn't invent all of it.
No, and Frank Miller didn't invent Batman, but he took it to that next level. Like after Watchmen came out, that's when Frank Miller did the Dark Knight series.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, and he didn't make any money on that entirely.
Right. Like, well, I know. He did. They didn't make money. Him and the other guy didn't make money, but then the other guy stayed working for DC, whereas Alan Moore went off and was like fuck DC, and then to the point where he wanted nothing to do with the movie. He didn't want anything to do with this series. He didn't. And
he started a rival. Company, which is Dark Horse Comics.
Right, Spawn.
Spawn. Remember Spawn?
Or was that Image?
I don't know. I think Spawn is Dark Horse. I'm pretty sure Spawn is his. Spawn
well,
was
no,
like,
I didn't think he started. I thought he
owns the rights to it, I believe, or he owns.
Well,
like
I know that he did do some work on Spawn too, but he did do fuck, I just saw this shit. Anyways,
comic books are really, there's only like a couple people who do them, right? You know, they like once you're in that, you're like one of the guys, right?
Yeah.
So they just really cycle between one of these guys. But I know he did a lot of stuff with Dark Horse, which was like the antagonist to DC in the 90s when we were growing up.
Wait, was Dark Horse? Did they have Spawn or?
Yes, Dark Horse had Spawn.
Okay, and the Image. Where's the Image? Is Image not even a thing?
Image is, I don't know what Image is.
Maybe I'm just making that up.
The three big ones were DC, Marvel, and Dark Horse. And honestly, I was a Marvel kid. If you were a DC kid, I was a Marvel kid.
Fuck you.
Yeah, seriously, that's how my dad raised me. No joke. Like
we fight now.
We didn't read DC comics. I mean, he used to say things like, "These are unintelligible comics. I don't like these," or whatever, you know. Yeah. And it's very I don't know where I'm going with this, but yeah, it's something about how he started that other comic book company. Spawn was a really good one. I really like Spawn too.
Yeah, Spawn was cool. That was a cool concept. Anyways, well, that's that. We hope you guys enjoyed this long drawn out fucking breakdown.
Go watch Watchmen. Write your local HBO provider. Tell them to demand a season 2.
Yeah.
Ours name is Nick Block in Buckeye Cable. Call up Mr. Block and say we need more.
Mr. Block, more Watchmen, please.
I know you listen to this, Mr. Block.
You got this on fucking, yeah, you subscribe. I come up in your shit every fucking week. No, I don't even see a point of watching this if you want a season 2. You're going to want a season 2, so until they announce a season 2, I would say don't even watch it. It might be like Lost again, but...
Is everything he does just like waste time?
Is everything just a colossal waste of your life?
Like, I thought like art was supposed to like be like help you enjoy life, but this just helped me waste a lot of it. And if I don't get to see any like resolve,
it's like blue balls. It really is. It's just like there's just aching pain.
It's tough to write a series like a small series.
And Zach would know. He's done plenty.
Yeah, yeah. Believe me.
He said plenty.
No, it's just I'm saying it's tough to.
You're right.
To like make something and then have a resolve. Like I like Silicon Valley and that was a shitty resolve and that just happened. You know.
I don't know what ended up happening. Nothing, right? Nothing. Like he ends up right where he started.
He just wins. He's like,
or is he rich?
He's rich and everything works out for him.
Everything works.
I hate endings like that, right? It's just not believable.
But like in a show like Silicon Valley, like that's all you're doing the whole fucking series is rooting for the underdog. You're like, come on, you can do it.
Yeah, but once he like becomes like the not an underdog, and it's like didn't show you any actual realistic. So you're just like, let's flash forward to like now he's a success. Like, oh okay,
it just worked out. Anyways, okay, well, that's out of us. For some reason, this recorder switched back to 0, and it makes me uncomfortable. I hope
it taping over?
I hope not. We'll see. I don't think so.
I don't think it can.
This thing has been really... All right, we'll see you next time. Hold on. Be good to your fellow human beings. HJ's for everybody. We'll talk soon.